All right, what's up, everybody? It is Zach, the Dark Conservatarian, and guess what? We are here with an old friend of ours. Introduce yourself.
Hi guys. From those who've known me over the last 8 years, you probably have known who I am. For those who don't know, I'm S Man Speaks. For the last almost 9 years, I've done videos of some sort, whether they be highly edited or you know raw, as that one British guy, Gordon Ramsay, would mention. I've done all sorts
It's
of things.
raw.
It's like fucking raw, mate. No, I can't do the voice.
Yeah,
Then
you sounded like Australian there. I think I might have butchered his accent too, for that matter.
it happens to the best of us. Over the last 8 years, almost, 9 years, I've done various types of videos of a number of different genres. And
Come
it
on,
was
just say it already. Yes, man. You are a former political commentary channel who gave me the light of day and has been considered for the longest time my closest internet buddy. Come on, just say
okay.
it.
What he said, yes, we met
And
because
today we are going to try and see of how long the S-Man can go without mentioning a single lick of politics.
I already know that's not going to work.
You are right. You're true. That's true.
But for those who don't know, I found his channel. He had done a video response to somebody. I don't exactly remember who. And he's like, "Oh,
Oh,
if
that's
you want."
bullshit. You know who?
Oh yeah, it had to have been Kyle Kalinske, and I. He's like, "Oh, if you want me to do a response, just put the link in the comments." And
Pretty
and
sure I
then,
remember you saying that it was S-Man, or excuse me, Owen.
I don't remember the video that I found of yours. That's what led me to. Or did you already do a response to him, and then I found because I found a video of yours and I looked at I put the link in the comment section. I didn't actually expect DarkCon here to do the video. I just thought, why the hell not? It'd be funny. Then he does the video response. And I was like, holy shit, he actually did it because he replied to me with the
Oh
link.
yeah.
And then we started talking. He checked out a few of my videos. Then we started talking. And that's where pretty much, we did some collaborations, made a shit ton of memes over the years. And, well,
Fought some battles
fought some
together, both
battles.
both
It's,
serious and not so serious, both cancerous and substantive,
mm-hmm.
all over the spectrums as far as whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that I remember you saying that it was first a response to Owen. It was actually my first ever response to him on abortion, and then you gave a recommendation of a video, another one of Owen's, and I did that one, and then actually you might have linked the two of them in the same message. I don't know,
I
but
have
either
to
way.
I have to admit that the reason I argued with him as much as I did was just because for some reason it was just so fucking funny. Hearing a British person get offended at me or get annoyed with me for some reason just made me laugh so much that I couldn't breathe. And one of the first times I'd done a video response to him, he did this weird face. I had paused when he was talking, and I didn't mean to, but the face he made was so goddamn funny. I couldn't breathe for like a minute and a half just laughing. It was Super Bowl 2017. I felt bad. I actually did, because I know, contrary to how I can come off sometimes, I actually kind of have a conscience, and I don't think he ever really forgave me for that. I never apologized for it, but I don't think he would ever really forgive me for that. And
Yeah, apology or no apology. And by the way, to address Aircraft Sparky, politics is lame based, because basement commies are cringe also based.
well,
But this live
true,
stream
true.
isn't going to be so much about Owen. Like, even though that he has got himself back into YouTube, it's like nowhere near to the same amount as before. Like, the quite honestly, it seems that the algorithm, at least so far, is hurting him even worse than it has been me with my YouTube channels and uploads recently. So yeah, this isn't so much about him. Case in point being, my live stream of where that I responded to Progressive Voice when it came to Oliver Anthony and blue collar workers. Like, even though it did not get so much ratings, apparently it got a whole bunch of eyeballs on it, though. Like, over 200 views. That's kind of surprising. Although I guess
Yeah.
not a lot of people watched a considerable amount of it to have actually given it a rating or whatever. But regardless, a view is a view, and it'll help in the algorithm regardless.
It depends on your point of view, of course. Um, since I largely moved away from YouTube, I have developed a very, very strong habit of making the most god awful dad jokes. You know, my former coworkers definitely took notice of that. When I stopped telling dad jokes for like 2 months, they acted as if I had, I don't know, terminal cancer or something. And I was like, no, 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 no. I just got bored with it. That's all. You know, and I'm not trying to make it my whole personality, but for them, it was like, well, I guess I have to keep the dad jokes. And yes, Aircraft Sparky, uh, basement commies are cringe. Um, and the only reasonable thing you can do with basement commies is just realize that they're just going to be this way forever, and there's no point trying to reason with them. Um, I know there's some YouTuber called Listen to Reason. I mean, that's not
Oh yeah.
exactly an instruction that a basement commie is going to listen to. You
Listen
know,
to Reason. Yeah, that is speaking of people who have been on long hiatus. Like that guy hasn't uploaded anything for like what 4, 5 years. I checked out his channel for a little bit, but the longer I think I even subscribed to him for a little bit right after I first watched his first few videos, but then he only uploads like I don't know what half a dozen, and then a year passes by of where that he doesn't upload anything else at all, and I'm just all like, he's kind of cluttering up my subscriptions. I'm gonna get rid of him. But speaking of which, there are some other channels that I need to unsubscribe from,
um,
mostly because they haven't uploaded in a while, and I'm not seeing any sign of them getting back into it. There's this one drama essayist channel called The Right Opinion, who is like the main guy that I got a lot of my opinions and like information in regards to the Onision drama of 2019 through 2020. And yeah, he's kind of fairly unbiased about it. He gives some criticism to Chris Hansen, mishandling those, investigations, if we even want to call it that. But regardless, it was still some pretty interesting and entertaining, in a way, kind of stuff that he would upload. And yet he hasn't uploaded for I don't know a year or two now, I guess. And yeah,
well, oh my God! As soon as you said Onision, oh God, I had a lot of flashbacks. I had met Mjolnir Man in November 2016, right after his birthday, and through a different controversy with the atheist gamer, some young bedroom feminist, as I guess you'd call him back in the day, and Bering and some others. And I saw him mention something about it, and there was just something about, he's like, oh, I'll just make this quick video before I go to work and stuff, where it was like a simple, you sit down in front of the webcam, you say what you got to say, and that's basically it. It was a simple setup of what he'd done that was very, I guess, appealing. He didn't have to be like, what up, guys? This is critical here. Welcome back to a brand new video. No, he got to the point, to the meat of the matter, and he was done. And then we just, we've spoken ever
critical,
since.
like
He,
uh,
I
was
just,
critical.
I was just throwing out a random name out there, but
Oh,
then,
okay.
then January 2017, I was dealing with someone who was defending some of the things Onision was doing, and it was low hanging fruit. I mean, low enough to the ground that a peasant animal could have gotten to it, but it was just, there was so much comedic material. I just could not help but just laugh my head off. Like, it's like bro is rating from, like, I don't know, 1 to 10 young women and girls in clothing that is not appropriate. What is there to defend? That's what I
Yeah,
couldn't understand. So
I
I,
still remember that video that Mjolnir Man did in response to this particular person. I can't even remember who it is, but I think I know who you're talking about. Is some like a real pudgy, androgynous female, and you did a Thug Life video in honor of Mjolnir, man. I
I
still remember that Thug Life video very well. It's he's a total creep. You defended a creep. It's true. Don't give me that fucking look, bitch. You know it's true.
There was so much more material I should have worked with, but it just didn't occur to me at the time. And I just to clarify, the pudgy person in response
there's one part of where that he literally screams, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" In his response, and you didn't include that in the Thug Life
I should
video.
have. I so should have. The
But
person,
hindsight, that was 2017, and now it's 2024.
yeah, and I was thinking about that a few days ago. Not like a whole lot, but just more like a wow, how much has everything changed in the last 7 years. The person who had done the video defending Onision has, since repudiated that video, repudiated him and everything else, which was,
well, good for them.
And she was all like, "Hey, could you take that video down?" Your response. I was like, "Yeah, sure." Because at the time she had made the request, it had been like 3 years. I was like, yeah, I don't see why not. So I did. I mean, it's just unlisted, but I don't really watch a whole lot of my older videos. It's not something I really prioritize doing. There's been some things I want to do video wise on the channel that I do use. It's just, my kind of work. I'm usually just tired and I just want to have my dinner and go to bed or or do something else. I mean, because this new job of mine is going to be 3 12s and a 6. So, but I get 3 days off. So, it's going to be, so it won't be too bad. It's just waking up at 3 in the morning. It's like, oh well, I've managed rougher schedules. I'll make it through this one. And I was thinking also about, how it's 2024 finally. It's another presidential election year, and here we go. It's, to me, the primaries are going to be so damn boring. 2020 was exciting because you have a guy who's dead in the water in the polls, right? Getting walloped in Iowa, walloped in New Hampshire, walloped in Nevada, but because of the House Majority Leader in South Carolina giving him a very crucial endorsement, Joe Biden defeated his rivals in a landslide that day and then dominated Super Tuesday. It was a huge reversal of fortunes in his favor, but I don't imagine it's going to be that way this year. I'm going to make a few predictions, and if I'm wrong, I will happily go on here and admit if I'm wrong. For now, I envision Joe Biden defeating his 2 primary challengers easily for the Democratic nomination. I don't know about New Hampshire, though, because he's going to have to...
You think Trump is going to sweep pretty much every key state for the primaries?
For now, yes. For the Democrats in New Hampshire, though, I don't know how that's going to go because they technically broke the rules with scheduling that contest. So Biden is going to have to do a write-in campaign to win any delegates out of that state. But, however, the last time someone technically beat a sitting president in a primary contest was in 1996 with Bill Clinton, but it was North Dakota. They didn't have that many delegates, and it wasn't like he was going to risk, losing the White House if he didn't get 3 electoral votes. As for the Republican nomination, for now, I see it as, there's no one who's going to defeat Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. I think that DeSantis, I think he's in 3rd in Iowa right now. So I think, it's just going to be a race for 2nd place. I think the only contest other than maybe my home state that could be competitive is New Hampshire. And the sad part is that only person...
You said what? You said that again? I almost thought I heard you say your home state, New Hampshire.
Oh, sorry. No. Other than my home state of Utah, I don't imagine... I think the only contest other than that can be competitive is New Hampshire. And that's because of the fact it's an open primary. And I think that's why Nikki Haley is doing so well in New Hampshire compared to... she's losing her home state by almost 30 points, which to me, invokes the Rubio rule. You lose your home state in a presidential primary, you should just withdraw, because you're not, if you can't even win your home state, you're not going to win the nomination, let alone the White House. So for
Yeah.
now, I see it as a Trump Biden rematch, and I think for now Donald Trump will probably beat Joe Biden this year. Then again, I put it with a grain of salt, because Biden has not even begun to fight yet. I think Joe Biden, once he starts fighting, once he starts competing in primaries and caucuses and things like that, I think that will start to move the needle a little bit. But for now, I think it's going to be a Donald Trump victory this year. I think he'll flip Georgia, he'll flip Arizona, he'll easily hold North Carolina and Florida, Iowa and Ohio, and I think he'll beat Biden in Pennsylvania and Michigan. And yes, Wisconsin. Wisconsin votes to the right of Michigan and Pennsylvania every time. And I think even Nevada, I think Trump has a healthy chance of winning Nevada. Um,
Yeah,
and
I mean, I almost thought that maybe back in 2020 that Nevada would have I almost, well, okay, it may have still been like a unlikely, but it almost seemed like he was very close to like winning Nevada, and I there were parts of me that was thinking maybe that state will go red. Oddly enough, it seems that he's not winning Michigan like he did 2016, but maybe he'll win Nevada now in 2020. But he didn't. But
well,
whatever.
recently
But it's still
he
going like more red in recent years, though. It almost seems.
I mean, because all Donald Trump has to do is he needs to just outpace himself amongst groups that didn't vote for him. If he can do well, if he can outpace himself with black voters, Hispanic voters, women, groups that don't really give a whole lot of support to Republicans, then I think he'd be on track to win. I think that I don't agree with his strategy of let's try to contest New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania is way more likely than New York or New Jersey to flip. I think even with RFK Jr., who has gained ballot access in Utah, um,
I guess
he
there's I mean, speaking of blue states that could possibly flip, I guess flip. I guess there was some video that I saw. I did not like. I did not actually watch it. I just looked at the thumbnail and the title of it. I actually do have to watch it. But Actual Justice Warrior has been covering a whole lot of the stuff happening in Chicago about how that uh, local black voters even are like very disappointed in the mayor for just accepting like I guess copious amounts of let's just say illegal immigrants there, and so it's like overpacking things up there, like overstraining resources and other stuff, and they're just all like, "We're getting fucked over." And that one video was more specifically talking about how that black voters might not even like vote Democrat for like the next few coming uh, upcoming elections in Chicago specifically, anyways.
Mhm.
Maybe that just means that they'll sit out of the election. I highly doubt that that would mean that they would vote red, but still, it's kind of interesting to think about, and especially if we were to like actually dig into the subject a little bit more as to how that would actually resonate, if that those types of claims even hold any water.
Yeah, I've been thinking recently about the Arab American vote. For context, Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump amongst Arab Americans 59 to 40%. And there are more Arab Americans in Michigan,
Wow, only by that
Pennsylvania.
much.
Yeah.
It seems that Arab Americans are like a tad bit more conservative than I would have originally thought. I mean, honestly, I thought that Asians would have been like more conservative than they actually are, percentage wise. But I guess what I vaguely remember, according to polls, I'm gonna have to actually look that up now. Actually, they vote on average more closer to 30% or 20%, something around the same range that Hispanics do. But yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
Asian voters they skew slightly right of how Hispanics vote. I know that Barack Obama defeated Mitt Romney amongst Hispanics by like 44 percentage points, and that was like 5% of Obama's votes in 2012. Um, So, but my point is that there are more Arab Americans in Michigan, Ohio, excuse me, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona. They have more of a presence in those states than Biden's margin of victory in any of them. And that a shift of, like, I want to say about 100,000 votes across all the states put together would have given Trump the White House. So Biden's response to the Israel Hamas war, I think, is weighing down his prospects in those states, and people's economic angst is as well. I know the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, was speaking to, I think it was PBS News yesterday or the day before, saying that the cynicism was unwarranted. But it's like, Madam Secretary, people have not been doing so well over the last few years. That's kind of baked in. That frustration is deeply baked in. Biden doesn't have very much time. Hi, Night Shift. Hi, J. Willie Series. I don't recognize that screen name.
Wait, you really don't? You don't recognize Jay Will?
Is that Conundrum?
No, Jay Will. That's one like a white South African dude that was on call with you the one time of where that Chatsberg ended up having a total meltdown because you, him, and Maddie. Was it Maddie or no? It was like something's Amanda Wolfchild. That was her name. All were like consistently muting him, and he just shouted.
Oh yeah. No. I understand. Okay. Hello, Jay Willie. It's good to see you. It's just been so long. It just kind of just slipped my mind. So, okay, so I'm looking at some of these polls from 2020. Joe Biden won 65% of the Latino vote, which slightly matched Hillary Clinton amongst that group. And then I'm looking at the black vote. Joe Biden won the 87 to 12%, which, for context, Hillary Clinton won the black vote 88 to 8% in 2016. Asian American and Pacific Island, or AAPI, voters backed Biden-Harris over Trump-Pence 68 to 28%. Many of them said they were turned off by language that they considered racist. I'm quoting a poll where they considered Trump's language about the COVID-19 pandemic racist in their view, which contributed to them voting to Joe Biden. However, a lot of Vietnamese voters, specifically elderly South Vietnamese immigrants who populate the coastal centers in the 1970s, they appreciated his stance in China, and he did pretty well amongst South Vietnamese voters.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at a screenshot of a poll from Pew Research saying that, with the exception of Vietnamese, it seems that Asians generally, well, actually, I cannot say generally. I mean, most of the subgroups seem to generally, well, actually, all Asian registered voters, all U.S. registered voters supposedly lean 1 point towards Republicans over that of Democrats, but all Asian registered voters generally Democrat, but Vietnamese are the exception.
Well, I remember seeing a poll when I was looking at the New York Times, and they've done a poll ever since 1972 of all these groups, and they show you the first time when they started asking a new type of question. Asian Americans in the 1980s and 90s were a pretty solidly Republican voting bloc. 1992 is the last time a Republican won the Asian vote, although 1992, when you look at the total results, it was clearly not enough. George H.W. Bush won 55% of the Asian vote. And their priorities and their views were quite different. They were more about anti-communism. A lot of them were from Vietnam and neighboring areas, and their support was enough to give President Bush a clear majority of their votes. And then you fast forward 30 years, and the Asian American vote overwhelmingly went for Joe Biden. I'm just not sure that Joe Biden can recreate the 2020 magic, but I'm not certain if Donald Trump can do the same for 2016, or how he did better than expected in 2020. I mean, you think about
It's definitely an
Joe,
interesting year because of how much more extreme that the overall Overton window has gotten, but like going both ways, not just one way or another, but just kind of both ways, it seems. Um, but
I
speaking of which, J. Will Series says a lot of other people forget how much other Asians who aren't Chinese really don't like China. Yeah, it seems that a lot of Asia, including India, really don't like each other. Like, I do not know if you saw this, S Man, and I saw the video, except it's like kind of fucked up, but it was some short of where that India was making a racist skit against China, and then China in response made their own racist skit against India.
Oh wow, I can already kind of envision that. I remember.
I'll have to like link you. It's I mean it's racist as fuck, but it's just mildly funny at the same time. I mean it was especially racist towards Chinese. Uh, yeah.
I but to me, I just it's hard to tell how this year's going to go in terms of if it's a Trump Biden rematch. I think most people voting for RFK Jr. They're not doing it, Ella Redfeather. They're not doing it because they genuinely agree with him. I mean, there's some who do genuinely agree with him, or at least they just want to punch the government in the dick. Uh, but they couldn't even identify RFK Jr. They had a picture of him and his father, Robert F. Kennedy Sr. They couldn't identify who was RFK Jr. So I think the Kennedy last name is really what's got him so much support. He's got like 22% in the polls right now, which is better than Ross Perot ever had.
That Kennedy political dynasty.
Mm-hmm. And essentially, there's a trend over the summer when people are pissed that maybe their guy didn't get the nomination. Long time no see, Red Feather. Usually third-party support is usually pretty high, but then they get closer to election day and they feel like, oh my god, I'm throwing my vote away because of first past the post, and then they defect to one way or the other. For example, in 1968, George Wallace had a lot of supporters in the border states between the South and Midwest, and Midwestern Wallace voters split heavily between Richard Nixon and Hubert Humphrey. But in the southern parts, his defectors went for Nixon over Humphrey 3-1, and that made the difference in places like North Carolina, in the Carolinas, Tennessee, Ohio, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan, where it did put someone over the top that probably wouldn't have won without those defections. And I'm just wondering what effect is this going to have, if any, down ballot, because in 1968 and 1992, despite a huge third-party vote, Democrats easily retained control of Congress. For now, I'm willing to bet that the Democrats will regain control of the House of Representatives. I don't think by much, though. I think it's going to be close. Then for the United States Senate, I'm convinced it's going to likely be a 50-50 tie, and the presidential election will decide yet again which party controls the Senate. Or it could be maybe a narrow, lean Republican victory where you take West Virginia and Montana, and everything else stays the same. I think Ohio is going to stay blue despite how it's trending. And for me, I'm convinced, though, that if Trump wins, it's going to be by the skin of his teeth, because Joe Biden and the Democrats, they're going to make it all about January 6th, June 24th. They will just pound that ad nauseum, because they're just going to make it all about the storming of the Capitol. They're going to make it all about Trump as a person. They're going to make it all about his character. They're going to try to ignore the issues. And there are certain issues Biden beats Trump on with the voters. But Trump, I think, is trying to take that advantage away, saying, no, it's Biden who's the threat to democracy. And he's using the fact that the Secretary of State of Maine and the Colorado Supreme Court took him off the ballot to say, look, this is what I mean. And I think that the only way Biden can escape Trump is to just, every time Trump says something, he's just going to have to hit harder and say, that is nonsense, my friends, or my fellow Americans. I think that's the only way Joe Biden can be reelected, is if he just, every time Trump says something, punch back 46 times harder.
By the way, to kind of get off the subject a bit of polling and like trajectories, more specifically, it makes me kind of curious. Like I would assume that you do not absolutely do not support Trump or Biden, but like, is there anybody that you support at all? Like even out of libertarian candidates for this run?
Uh, Lars Mapstead, I like what he's saying. I'm not really enthused with the Libertarian Party at the moment. I'm not leaving, but I'm not enthused with some of the candidates. I mean, Chase Oliver is annoyingly pro-abortion, so already I would
Mm,
not vote for him if he's the party's candidate. I don't like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I think he's trying to play both sides too much. Um,
I don't
I
think ever since that Ron DeSantis got really into like mainstream conversation as far as politics go. You like pretty much like almost went to completely, well, not completely. I mean, obviously you did some stuff on your smaller, newer channel, which I do not know if you like care to mention that channel by name, but still, I'm not going to
you want
mention
to
it
provide a
by
link?
name.
You if you want to provide a link, you can. Um,
Okay, but
uh,
I don't. There might be something you might mention in one of your live streams, but I haven't been paying full attention. So I don't think we ever got to hear what your opinion is of the guy who just within the last 2 3 years got more into mainstream conversation, that being Ron DeSantis. What has been your thoughts of him, like overall?
I think that he's one of I think that he can definitely build a legacy, whether he serves just 6 years or he does the full 8 years as governor of Florida. I think that
Hmm.
I think in some ways he's harmed himself with some of his actions, and I think in other ways he can say, "Look, I get shit done." You know, I think that this culture war stuff will, I think, will hurt him in some respects with voters if he got as far as the general election, and I think in other areas it would help him out. For example, I don't know if he would do worse than Trump in a place like Massachusetts with abortion, or maybe,
Massachusetts. I mean,
well,
Massachusetts would be like a bit of a moot point because
I mean, and just in
it's all the
terms of
blue and all that.
how resounding of a rejection Republicans have had in that last few years. Look at 2020. Look at 2022. They lost
Hmm.
everything in Massachusetts, which is kind of true. It's a moot point because it's not like they're going to contest such a deeply blue state. But
Hmm.
how is he going to do in Ohio? How is he going to do in? He's going to win Kansas. I mean, your home state. They resoundingly rejected the Value Them Both amendment, but they almost voted out their Democratic governor. She got reelected, but still, it,
Yeah, and honestly, the truth behind that matter is not really so much that there's like a slight majority of people who are like pro-choice. It's more because a lot of pro-lifers got gaslit out of their beliefs. It is my theory. Like and opinion. Like my mom and like other people within my family kept on running across pro-lifers who want to reject the Value Them Both amendment because it does not immediately ban absolutely all abortions all at once. It just opens up the possibility, the same way that Roe v. Wade just opens up the possibility for individual states to ban abortion, but doesn't like ban it in of itself. The Value Them Both amendment would just open up the possibility for Kansas. Was all. Here I need to like. I'm gonna
I
answer this phone call. I'm gonna like mute myself and then continue
all
on my
right.
point.
To answer Red Feather, to answer your question about if they remove Donald Trump from the ballot, I mean, people could, but I think that they would just throw. I just don't think they would count those votes, or at least, uh, yeah, I don't suspect they would count those votes because I know in some states, like if I wrote in Mickey Mouse for president, they would not count that vote because Mickey Mouse is not eligible to be president. I don't think they would have. I think they would treat it that way. And in other places, maybe they would count them. It would depend on the state laws because the mayor of Detroit, he filed too early. He filed too early to run for the primary, the top two primary, to whittle it down to two people, right? It's how they do it in my hometown for mayor. And we have a mayor elect who I think took office a few days ago. So what happened was because he filed too early, because it's always like, oh, you filed too late. No, he filed too early. So he ran a write in campaign he got like 46% of the write-in of the vote as a write-in, so he gets to qualify for the general election anyway, which was like an Uno card. Then he won a heavily contested race. He's been mayor since 2014. So as far as I'm concerned, I think so. Sparky says in Colorado they said it wouldn't count. Okay, I don't know about Maine. I just think that it's like the Colorado Secretary of State refused to take Trump off the ballot. The Supreme Court overruled her, and she's still getting death threats anyway. And it's like, Jesus, people. Both parties, when libertarians vote for Libertarian Party, don't waste your votes. Then their person loses. It's your fault. That's the thing I don't understand. Is it's like, I didn't vote for Republicans because I'm not a Republican. I mean, there are some Republican candidates. I mean, I split the ticket. I split this ticket like 5 or 6 ways in 2020. And I did split the ticket a little bit in 2022. This is how I am. I don't vote straight ticket. I mean, if you do, that probably tells me that each candidate you agreed with. But you should be able to have the possibility of saying, I don't agree with every single person on the ticket.
I do have to say very quickly, I forgot to mention this when we were off air, but I will have to leave by 5, definitely at least 5:30, because at about by 6 I need to pick up my grandpa because we're going to be going out to play pool together this evening.
That's pretty based. Used to at my apartment, I used to play pool. Just down the street we'd play pool, and it's pretty nice.
Another thing, I don't know what all that you were telling people about abortion laws on.
I was just answering the question about if Trump's removed from the ballot, couldn't people write him in? Colorado, as Sparky pointed out, said they would not count those votes. By the way, I'm just going to say this right now. I do not imagine, I cannot imagine that the United States Supreme Court is going to uphold what the Colorado Supreme Court did or what the Maine Secretary of State, Shanna Bellows, did. And I know she struck Chris Christie from the ballot over a signature issue, a clerical error. And I know Vivek Ramaswamy took himself off the ballot in Colorado and Maine. I think that, to me, the Supreme Court is going to answer one way or the other. They're going to answer. They're going to have to do something. Sparky. I just I have to admit, I do like some of what Vivek says. I just wish that I just wish he would just have his own personality rather than, because sometimes it just feels like he copy pastes what Trump says, and other times he doesn't.
Yeah,
I mean, what he said.
People blame Ron DeSantis for that. Vivek is even worse as far as being copycat of Trump. I do not know what people are talking about. What's another criticism that people have towards Ron actually is he lacks charisma. It's just, and I go listen to him myself on the debate stage, and it's all like, the guy isn't that bad. I mean, he's definitely better than Ted Cruz, which Ted Cruz was the foil for everybody to be ragging on a person's charisma in the past. But nowadays it's Ron DeSantis. Night and day, these don't compare. Ron is a little bit more direct. I mean, he still has some of that politician way of speaking, but he's more direct more times than Ted Cruz was. I would gladly assert.
I would also,
as far as Vivek goes, Vivek is just way too smug and smarmy with Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah. I was just going to say that as far as I look at it, Vivek Ramaswamy, I like some of the things he says. I do agree with the idea with him and DeSantis on a flat tax. I know that the state of Florida does not have an income tax, and I definitely would like for the state of Utah to do the same thing. I can't remember which state it was. I want to say it's one of the Dakotas where they don't have an income tax, and I want to say they don't have a sales tax, or it's super low. But I can't remember for the life of me. I'd like to. I just remember what I was saying about DeSantis is, I think that if he's nominated or if it's Trump, I think they're going to be dogged on by Democrats on abortion. and I just don't know how potent of an issue it's going to be, because I think of Josh Hawley when I think about this. Is Hawley said he would only vote for Supreme Court nominees who would overturn Roe versus Wade. I think Senator Hawley is going to be reelected big time in Missouri, or at least it will be comfortable. So I think that in some states, some of these people who supported overturning Roe versus Wade are going to be reelected no matter what. I think that in Ohio, I still think that despite Trump bragging on tape that he's the one who got it overturned by his 3 Supreme Court appointments, I think Ohio is going to go for Trump by at least 10 points. I don't think
Of
it'll
course,
be
Don
higher
would
than that,
claim
but
credit.
he'll claim credit for that. And the state of Iowa, I don't think that the issue of abortion is going to really matter to enough voters to decide the outcome in Iowa or Ohio. I think that Biden is going to do worse than he did in 2020 in terms of Florida. 1 million new Republican voters have moved there. The Cuban American vote has grown in strength in the state of Florida. And I believe that Democrats have just given up on the state. And that's the last thing you can do, because when Republicans stopped trying to win California, it became one of the bluest states in the country. They'll never win it again unless they have a huge demographic shift. And they're not going to. They're not going to try. When they had a liberal Republican like Arnold Schwarzenegger be their governor for almost 8 years, I'd say that as far as I'm concerned with DeSantis, I agree with him on a flat tax, and I think that he can beat Joe Biden if he's given the nomination. But I think that the Republicans, I think too many of them think the election was stolen, and that Trump is therefore entitled to a third nomination. And no matter what happens, they're just going to say, we're going to have him a third time. Even though he lost to Joe Biden, he cost us Congress, he cost us a bunch of governorships, state legislatures. If he wouldn't have falsely claimed the election was stolen, I think Georgia would have stayed Republican, and I think Joe Biden, his agenda would have been dead in the water with, even if it's Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, a thing that I'm kind of concerned about regarding 2024, although I guess this is becoming a little bit less of a conversation point of conversation, because Ron is looking less and less likely to get the nomination. It's almost gearing up to be more like a Trump v. Haley primary than anything. Almost. I mean, I don't know. We'll see as soon as the Iowa results come in. But regardless, if Ron was to get the nomination, my concern is how many Trump cultists, not casual Trump supporters. Everybody, if you are a casual Trump supporter, no problem with you. I don't know how much I can stress this, but Trump cultists, people who are all like, it's Trump or nothing. If you don't support Trump, you are automatically a cucked out rhino. Those types of people. Then those type of people, how many of them are going to vote third party themselves, especially if Trump was to run third party, or just refuse to vote for whoever is nominated just because of cult of personality reasons and not really for policy reasons? It's why I've been constantly trying to ask in the recent few months, what is the policy disagreements that Trump supporters have against Ron? And one of them, just flat out, did not give any answer. One of them actually said flat out that the reason why I'm not supporting Ron is because he would dare run against Trump in the Republican nomination, the Republican primaries.
Well, in you got to look at history a little bit here. In 1972, 37% of Democrats voted for Richard Nixon over George McGovern. McGovern still got 60% of the Democratic vote, but clearly that was nowhere near enough to win. And nowadays, both parties secure about 90% of their base of their voters and a little bit of the other side. And that's what usually will help them win, is dampening some enthusiasm for their opponents. John McCain tried, and I think he may have gotten at least, I don't know, about 14 to 25% of Hillary Clinton voters. And clearly that was not enough in that year. But due to how polarized we are, I'm not certain how many Trump voters would sit out the election, or they would just vote for. They're not voting for Joe Biden. I think that's pretty clear. I don't know if it would be like a 1912 scenario where TR doesn't get the nod, so he runs against Taft on a third-party ticket and did better than Taft. I mean, which is impressive that he did better than Taft. And I think ever since then, I
Yeah.
think people have viewed it as, voting a third party ticket just ensures your the one you hate the most wins. Um, and I agree with Sparky's most recent comment. I think that returning on the federal level is correct, constitutionally speaking. I do see that there is a way you could try to avoid the extreme vote splitting, as if they did what Maine does, and that's with instant runoff voting for primaries and general elections, um, and because the state of Alaska did it and it worked just fine. They have a top 4 primary system there, and I think Sarah Palin was just an awful candidate, which is why she was defeated by 10 points last in November 2022. Then you look at Nevada; they're going to implement it with a top 5. I'd say top 6. That way, you round it out to say, all right, there will be a maximum of 5 rounds, and you know the campaigning, the tone of the campaigns in like Alaska and Maine have been a lot less cruel than under first past the post or a 2-round system, because um, Sarah
Yeah, I
Palin was
remember.
very harsh to Nick Begich the third, and a lot of his people voted for the Democratic nominee Mary Peltola. Not enough to give her a majority of his voters, but enough to push her over the top.
Very harsh. Like you go talking about that. It makes me think about the one Arizona senator debate that Senate election debate that I watched. God, what year was it? Would it have been 2020? I think it might have been 2020 actually, because that was when the one lady like filled in the remainder of John McCain's tenure, and then she was up for re-election against that one dude, Mark Kelly, I believe was his name. But the
Mm-hmm.
lady there was just an absolute asshole towards him, just out of nowhere. Like honestly, okay. Honestly, I'm all for that. If somebody is like being a weasel or a snake, uh, dishonest debate tactics, just very underhanded dishonest debate tactics, or they're like even more blatantly insulting you or implying an insult at you or whatever, that if you that maybe an insult is warranted. But in that case, the dude was nothing but cordial throughout all of that, and she just kept on calling it. She just kept on nicknaming him guy. I cannot remember what the lame ass nickname was that she kept on giving Mark Kelly. But regardless, she was trying to be like the mini Donald Trump of Arizona. She thought that maybe coming up with an insulting nickname for your opponent was the key to, or one of the keys to getting elected, just the same way that Donald Trump called crooked Hillary, and called Lion Ted, and that's how he won, right. No, that's not it. There was like more stuff, more personal stuff involved that made people kind of sympathetic, or give Trump a pass, at least in regards of his nicknaming and insults towards his opponents. Like, I don't agree with the idea that it was like a Ted Cruz's fault that there was that Republican super PAC that was oh, look at this whore Melania Trump. Do we really want to vote for the guy who has a whore of a wife like this, or whatever? Like literally, that was a thing that one of my cousins posted to me as to why that he's not going to support Ted Cruz, and I just kept on trying to say that it's not his fault. Super PACs work independently, but anyway, regardless, if a person was to really think it's like all Ted Cruz's fault, then of course they're going to be more understanding towards Donald Trump, calling him Lion Ted, or in the case of Hillary Clinton and her basket of deplorables comment, and all the other personal smears that she threw at other people. And not to mention the fact that he is in fact, or she, excuse me, is in fact a crooked politician. Definitely warrants Donald Trump to call her crooked Hillary. And yeah, people were sympathetic towards that. Which is whereas with the Arizona Senate race, what did you have on him to make people sympathetic towards you, like throwing insults at him? It just makes you look like a bitch
Yeah,
ultimately.
and by the way, you just reminded me of Nikki Haley's coming under fire in Iowa because she said Iowa would cast would make their judgment, New Hampshire would correct it, then South Carolina would bring it home. I think she forgot the Nevada caucus, And what's weird is how many contests they're having between the South Carolina primary and Super Tuesday. My home state will once again be on Super Tuesday. At least I think on the Republican side. I don't know about the Democratic side. I thought about participating on Super Tuesday because I don't imagine my home state is going to be. I don't think the Libertarian Party is going to hold a contest in my state, but at the same time, I think it's going to be. Okay, let's see. Utah will
participating as in you'd vote, or are you talking about like assisting at the voting booths or something?
I mean voting on Super Tuesday because in 2020 I
Okay.
voted for Bernie Sanders on Super Tuesday because I was afraid of Bloomberg winning my home state because I think Bloomberg was the most evil of the Democratic candidates. He placed fourth, so ultimately my concerns were overblown, but it was still funny to see Bloomberg lose for third place to Elizabeth Warren.
Hey, Bloomberg versus Trump, who's worse?
You know, I'd have to say Bloomberg. I'd have to say Bloomberg would be worse. Hell, I think he'd make me pull the lever in the other direction. He's that bad, in my opinion. I think he was just the devil. Then I look at it was so satisfying seeing Elizabeth Warren get crushed on Super Tuesday. She didn't even win a single county in her home state of Massachusetts. It was so satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Bloomberg tried so hard to get that average Joe working class kind of personality encapsulated around himself as a person, but he just could not steal that away from Joe Biden or even Bernie Sanders for that matter. He's just way so elitist. Like, I still remember running across one ad back in 2020. I was innocently looking to watch some YouTube video, can't remember what it was, but then I go hearing dun, 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 dun. It was a Small Town by John Mellencamp, and I was like into it. It was like, oh yeah, I like this compilation of like small town, good old rugged American small town scenery with John Mellencamp playing. And then I go hearing Michael Bloomberg. It's like, oh, okay, I see. But you just ruined it for me. Fuck you. Get out of my face.
The thing that the only thing I think Bloomberg did on the Democratic primaries is I think he did hurt Joe Biden. I think in terms of his strength, because you look at some of the compare 2016 to 2020 and some of the Super Tuesday results in the South. I think that if Bloomberg would have maybe, because it seems like his constituency was not that different from Biden at heart. But I think if Bloomberg had not been in the race, I think Biden would have just accumulated a couple more delegates. I don't think he cost Biden any states, but I think Biden would have done better delegate-wise and in terms of the national vote without Bloomberg in the race. I just think everyone had already made up their minds. I think Bloomberg entered the race too late. I think had he announced like in 2019, earlier in the year, I think he would have had much better of a chance. But I just don't think
late announcers, Cenk Uygur.
Oh, he's not qualified to be president. He is not qualified.
Yeah, I know, but still, it's like that became a bit of a funny meme-worthy conversation that people like Ranting Monkey and Sitch and Adam were like engaging and talking to. Like, Sitch and Adam actually interviewed Cenk Uygur. You gotta watch it. It's freaking insane. Like, Cenk Uygur is just still insisting that, Kyle Rittenhouse is a murderer, even to Sitch and Adam's face. And they were like arguing with him for a little bit. I mean, every other subject matter, they did not give him any amount of pushback. But I guess Kyle Rittenhouse is just that one very I cannot think of the word, but it's just one of those like not vilifying some term. It's one of those subjects that really gets the passion out of people to like want to actually argue about the topic, and I guess that's what motivated Sitch and Adam. But on all the other issues of how would you handle like a run against Trump or whatever? And he was just being all kinds of outlandish. Like, he was talking about how that he would make Donald Trump cry, about how he would like be better at an insulting match than Donald Trump. And I was just thinking to myself, dude, if I don't think you're giving yourself too much of a big head. I think Trump has much of a chance of making you cry as much of a chance that you have of making him cry. Like, both of you are big loudmouths, equally speaking, and have big, fat, fucking fragile egos, equally speaking, as well. So don't just sell yourselves too high. But Sitch and Adam, they weren't challenging him on that.
I think if Cenk Uygur was nominated for president, I think he's the one without any charisma. I think that first of all, he's not even eligible to be on the ballot, as far as I'm
He
concerned.
definitely
And every
tries, but
every
it always
secret
flops.
every secretary of state or every state supreme court should strike him from the ballot and being like, he wasn't even born in this country. Neither of his parents were. There's nothing he can claim that he's a natural born citizen of the country to be president of the United States. I think that he has. I think he has. I think
All the
if he,
freaking mental gymnastics that he tries to play with trying to defend his case, though, and why he is qualified, though, it's ridiculous.
I think that if he gets anywhere near the nomination, I think he's going to get his junk punched in. Borrowing a phrase my own father uses, in saying that so and so would get their dick punched in. Oh, he definitely will, because
He'd get his dick punched in and his gunt punched in.
that is, if they can even lift his gut high enough to find his shriveled up thingy. But the point is, if he even gets close,
I don't think you heard me. I said gunt, not gut.
I think that if he gets close to the nomination, they are going to just bring every. You thought they brought up Biden's past against him. You haven't seen anything yet with Cenk Uygur being an Armenian genocide denier, being his old views, his old stances, and I mean, he's already apologized for his previous misogynistic comments, but they're going to ignore that, and they're going to say, when
it comes to horse fucking.
That I still can't believe he actually talked about. I still can't get over the fact he actually talked about that as if that was a conversation worth having. Then you look at, I think Trump would have a field day against Cenk Uygur if Uygur was even eligible to appear on the ballot, because he can say, this guy is, Cenk Uygur is the chief propagandist at the Young Turks, and then I think Armenian Americans would vote. I don't know if they'd vote for Trump, but I think they'd definitely just sit out the election, because I think that every single one of them would say that the Young Turks is like calling themselves the Young Nazis, and denying the Armenian genocide. I think they will always hold that against him. Because I looked at the other primary challengers, Marianne Williamson is just not serious. So I don't even consider her worth really mentioning that much. She's not serious. As for Dean Phillips, I think he's the only serious challenger to Joe Biden in terms of having something to say. But I think Democrats will view him as a traitor, just like how Republicans view DeSantis as a traitor. I think they're going to view Dean Phillips as he's a millionaire. They're gonna lambast him for being a millionaire, despite Joe Biden being a millionaire too. Then you're going to see how Phillips is a supporter of Israel. So I think that any constituency he could use to kind of try to pry votes from Joe Biden, I don't think is going to work. And I think that 2024 is going to be messy in terms of the two main tickets are going to do worse than they did in 2020. I'm convinced that no one's going to get 50%. I would be not surprised if no one gets even 45%. I'd be a little surprised if no one got even 40%. That'd be the second time in this country's history ever.
I almost think that I might have got a knock on the door.
All right.
I'm gonna just take 1 second. Keep talking.
Okay, I'm gonna read the comments. So I'm reading the comments. Aircraft Sparky says, I vote the most straight tickets. I don't vote for gay people. LOL joking. Or am I? He calls Vivek based. He says super straight ballots only.
Of course, Aircraft Sparky would say that.
Then Red
By the way, I
says,
think it's more likely the dumbass cats knocking their heads against shit, not somebody knocking on my door.
Well, that's why you need to get a dog, because dogs are better than cats, my friend. Red Feather says,
unfortunately, our yard does not have a full four-sided fence.
You mean cisgender tickets, says Red Feather. Bobblehead Ron is robotic. Aircraft Sparky says, got it on the store. Then I already read the last comment from Aircraft Sparky. I just go ahead.
I mean, you can go ahead and finish up. Kind of an hour-long prelude about politics specifically, but I was one to talk about more kind of uplifting but more personal life stuff.
Sure, yeah, go ahead. I pretty much have said what I got to say on 2024.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, but who cares about politics? Like, as Aircraft Sparky said a lot earlier, politics is lame, lame and gay. That's me adding the "and gay" part, by the way. Not trying to put
So you're
words
coming out of you're coming out, Darkon? Is that what you're doing?
uh, if all political commentators are gay for talking about a subject so gay, then I guess so. But that would also mean that Aircraft Sparky is gay. What are you doing saying that you are passionately against gay candidates, Aircraft Sparky? How dare you? But anyway, dry humor aside, so that again, that was a bit of an hour-long prelude talking about politics. But how have you been, best man, recently?
Recently, I've been pretty good. I'm going to be I'm going to be starting a new job in a few days, and the schedule's going to be kind of rough, but I don't mind. The pay is better, so as far as I'm concerned, I see it as more like um the sure, I'll be waking up rather early in the morning, but I can absolutely look past that. And
Yeah.
I'm almost at the 11-month mark in a pretty good relationship. I'm happy with where things are going. Um,
For
and
some reason, did you mention that you had proposed or something?
oh, I'm going to in a month from now. I have it very well set up about how I'm gonna go about that, and that's what I'm going to do.
Well, I don't know whether to say you poor bastard because you're getting married, you're getting tethered by a woman, or to say you rich bastard because you're getting married, you're getting more love than ever from a woman.
You'll find the right you'll find the one, Darkon. You will. You just got to
Yeah.
ditch the porno mustache, or just grow a full
Oh, is
beard.
that really the deal? Maybe I should like run a poll on Twitter and Discord and all that stuff. Like, hey, does everybody think I should ditch the mustache and just go completely clean shaven, or like go full beard or something else like that? Oh,
Um. Oh yeah, yeah. I read his
don't
comment.
talk about it if she don't know. Grat's there too. Okay, well,
Um.
make sure to not show this to her though.
Oh, she didn't even know that I do this kind of thing, or used to. Um.
Anyway, you're saying
Oh.
job, relationship.
I'm
I
looking to move. I've been in this apartment almost a year, and I'm looking to move because I very much have grown tired of. I walk across the street to the convenience store, and some random bitch wearing a cardigan. It's like, "Do you have a cigarette? You got a lighter?" And it's like, I said, to her, I was like, I said, woman, I said, lady, you've asked me this question 6 times already. Fuck off. And I go inside and I get my they have a. It's unbelievable how some convenience stores have almost everything you could think of. Bacon. Well, I can't have that kind of bacon anymore. Eggs, cheese, butter, milk, 2% specifically. And then they have fucking motor oil, condoms. And it's like the only people who are going to buy a condom
oh
from
you
a
can
convenience store are called parents.
yeah, you can you can make yourself breakfast, change your oil, and have sex that will probably go all the way through and not be safe or prevented all at the same time. Buy the stuff for it all at the same place.
Yeah, yeah. Although I'd recommend not changing oil in the convenience store parking lot.
I wouldn't
Um,
recommend having sex in the convenience store parking lot either. You'll probably get arrested.
yes, you will. No doubt, you'll be arrested. And so far,
I'll try to keep that in mind, Jay Will. On his
um,
comment about full beards and clean shaven being better than standalone mustaches, I guess.
So
By the way, I was itching my leg right there, not my dick, as to why that my laptop was lifted.
Dark Con, if you're gonna do that, you might want to just like turn the camera off and mute yourself. If you're gonna do that kind of behavior, um, but yeah. So since last March, I've lived in this apartment building, and the first night was rough because now I live in an urban area and there's cracktivity outside, and
Cracktivity in Momoland?
mm-hmm.
No.
Yes, and then I remember one morning I have a pellet gun, um, and I wake up one morning, I'm about to go to work, and I see some fucker sleeping, some homeless guy sleeping on my doorstep. So I woke him up with the butt of the pellet gun, and I simply just held it up, didn't point it at him because I'm not willing to shoot someone for sleeping on front of my doorstep because he's just asleep. But I told him, he might want to find somewhere else to sleep. And then he left. And then, hearing the upstairs neighbors argue, and I could hear them going at it in bed. You could hear the bed going across the floor. And I was laughing so fucking hard until my roommate's like, isn't just a woman living there with her brothers? And I was like, I don't mean to stereotype Southerners, but what the fuck?
Hey, do I
And
hear the Sweet Home Alabama meme about to play?
I can mentally hear it. I don't even have to play it on YouTube. I can just hardly hear it. But since last March,
We get this live stream copyright struck if we play it, though.
oh yeah, and I thought I'd just mention this now. It's not been an easy time, health wise. It's been the worst year of mine since 2015. So,
Yeah.
and this is, I guess, where I'll transition into explaining. So, it was last March. I had skipped breakfast because I had overslept. Usually I don't oversleep on a work day, so they had served us pizza at work. So they had some in the fridge. So I had 2 slices of Marco's pizza, which they're pretty good, but for reasons I'll explain in a minute, I can't have them anymore. So I have that, and I had some water, and I go downstairs and I'm doing my job, and I want to say about 10 or 20 minutes later, I start to feel pretty terrible. I feel hives come on. My body temperature rises pretty dramatically. I'm feeling itchy everywhere, and I didn't understand the peril I was in. So I bring this metal card from the sales floor back to the production room, and I just sit down, and I feel terrible. And they're like, "Oh my god, dude, you got bumps all over you." And at the time, I worked with my mother in the same store, so we both go in front of a mirror, and I can just see hives everywhere. I called them welts because I didn't know they're hives, and I was like, "Holy shit!" So I sit back down out in the production room, and I'm just, they're like, "All right, you got to get out of here." Clearly there's something wrong. We didn't understand what was wrong. We'll probably just swing by a Macy's and pick up some Benadryl or something like that. So I'm being kind of, she's kind of guiding me a little bit towards the front of the store, and I'm passing the book section, and that's where I start to stumble, and I'm trying to stand up and keep walking, but then I just, I was like, oh, okay, I can feel that I can't continue, and I fell to my left. I hit the side of my head on one of the bookshelves on the way down, like in a certain show that I started watching after, Better Call Saul. And then I just fall over, and my mom pulls me onto my back, and she's trying to wake me up and calling out my name, and I drifted in and out of consciousness. I could hardly see. Then I can't see because my eyes go into my head. So I could only see like a gray film, totally gray. And then I can feel like someone's putting something into my chest, and that someone's putting something under my nose. I can only see my boss. I can see his beard. I can see the edges of his face, kind of the detail, but I can't see much beyond that for a minute.
Did it just feel like that, or was that actually happening and you felt it?
I could feel him putting his thumb into my sternum to see if I could feel anything at all. And then some old lady that shops there regularly, she kept putting hand sanitizer under my nose to see if that would provoke any kind of a response. Does he respond to stimuli? And I did. Then the paramedics get there and everyone's fucking staring at me, which was just great. Here I am having a medical episode that I've never had before, and I have all these jackasses just standing there. The paramedics and the police show up, which I didn't expect the police to be there, but it's like whatever. My father is there, and I'm wide-eyed, just what the hell, just looking around, and they're like, the paramedics are asking me all these questions. Do you know who you are? What are your parents' names? What's your address? I almost said the address of this place because I hadn't even told them I'm moving there. I hadn't quite got that conversation through yet, but I later did, and I'm just trying to breathe. It was just a hard time breathing. And then they did check my blood pressure. It was 80/60, which, they explained to me that's very bad. So they put me on the gurney.
Is that low, or what would that be?
It's pretty low. It's very low. That's why I collapsed. Is my blood pressure just boom?
Because the bottom number, the 60s, as far as I remember, is regular. It's just the top number that you mentioned that was sounded pretty fucking low. Because I go hearing stuff like 120/60 or 140 or over 70 or stuff like that. And like the ratio there was very freaking close. I just did not know if that meant low or meant something super special as far as blood pressure goes.
Because that's what I heard. Because I was starting to again go to consciousness. Because they administered an emergency EpiPen. They sit me in a chair. They ask me some questions, and I'm like, I don't know what did this, because I didn't realize it was a food allergen. Because at that old job, you could come into contact with a lot of things, and that could be a problem. We did have someone who had a minor allergic reaction to some perfume someone donated a while back. So they take me to the hospital. I'm like, do you care which hospital? I was like, nope. Because it's like I'm trying to stay awake here. I don't really give a sauteed rat's ass which hospital you take me to. So they take me to a hospital. They did some tests, and they said it was an anaphylaxis attack. And I'd heard the word before. I just didn't know what it meant. And I was like, oh, that does not sound good. And they're asking me some questions, and, I wanted to do a skin test right then and there, but my objections were ignored. And the next week I had another one, but this was a minor allergic reaction, but I had no desire to find out how minor. Then nothing happens for a month, and then I had my second and last anaphylaxis attack. That one nearly killed me. I get to the apartment. I look in the mirror. I can see that my face is starting to swell shut. I was actually tempted not to even call, because I just thought, fuck, I'm so tired of this. But there's so many things
of dealing with medical stuff.
Yep, and I was so tired of it, but I thought, I do owe this to some people that I care about. And
that's the same thing with me and my car. Like, my car has been like giving me consistent problems, as well as my computer, which is why that I'm live streaming on my laptop instead. And I'm starting to develop like health problems with my feet primarily. Like, everything else about me is healthy, but I need to see a podiatrist.
And then
soon enough. But you were saying?
So what happened next was after that, as it was, the anaphylaxis attack was kicking in, because again, I still didn't know what I was allergic to, because every time I tried to schedule a skin test, it was always only the worst times that they had that I just couldn't make it. So I was trying not to miss too much time, So I feel
that.
So I was walking from a restaurant, which wasn't far from where I lived, and that's where I could feel the effects of anaphylaxis kick in, but it was much more aggressive. So I get into the apartment. I look in the mirror, and I could see that I look like a Jeff Dunham puppet. I am so puffy. And I texted, because I was supposed to go to a former coworker's viewing. I was going to give his mother something from the store as a gift. He had died.
It's one of those funeral preludes.
Mm-hmm.
I
was supposed to play a part in it. I informed my mother, because she was going to pick me up to go there, and I realized I had left my EpiPens at work, because this always happened at work. So we just assumed it's probably going to happen at work. So we'll just keep the EpiPens there. And at first I wasn't going to call, because I thought, you know what, I changed my mind. she's like, "Are you going to call?" And I thought, well, she's going to do it if I don't. So I said, all right, I'll call. And I sit in this very chair, and I made sure to keep myself kind of visible so, they would find me in time, the paramedics. And I kind of just sat there for a moment thinking, this is it. This is how it ends. I'm only 21 years old at that time, and I'm going to fucking die over probably now at this point. I had no doubt it was a food allergen, but I didn't know to what specifically. And then I realized there are certain people in life that I don't like, that I have got to outlive. I am that bitch 100%. I am. But also there's certain things in life I wanted to live to see. Mainly just to see my nieces and nephew um grow up, to be in their lives, and also to further the relationship I'm in. So
Yeah.
I just winced hard for a moment, and I call, and I spit out the information as fast as I can. Who I am, where I am at specifically, what's going on. I said, don't break the door down. It's unlocked. The front gate and the front door of the building are unlocked. They're open, because I had kept that prepared just because I'm not paying for them kicking the door in. And then, I lose consciousness for a few seconds. It felt like I wake up, I pick up my phone, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I heard none of what you just said. Can you repeat that for me? And then I pass out again. My mother got there before the paramedics did, but stabbing your son in the leg with an EpiPen, it's easier to say than to do. But before she's even about to do it, the paramedics finally get there, and she felt bad, and they're like, well, if he was going to die, you would have done it. They get me in the leg with the EpiPen. The doorway was too narrow to get the gurney into the apartment building, so they had to put me on a sheet, and my face was kind of half covered, and my eyes are still swollen pretty shut. So I couldn't even really see. So I thought I was dead for a moment. I really thought I was dead. And then I can feel them lifting me with the sheet, and my head moves, which kind of hurt. But you don't really feel a whole lot. You can't really think about a whole lot because your body is so overwhelmed. And I was sweating so profusely because this anaphylaxis stuff really makes you sweat. And I asked my mother, did he pour water on himself? No. And then I can see the very blue sky in April. And they're like, do you know what happened? And I kind of give him this look like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm the jackass that called you guy. Whatever, I could barely stay awake, though. Going back to the exact same hospital. And after watching Better Call Saul, what they did in that one scene that I won't spoil for you guys is what they did for me, where they lift me up from the sheet off the gurney, they put me on the table, they turned me to my side to get the sheet out from underneath me, and they put me back, and I just felt like I was handled like a rag doll. And I was very aggravated. I was very upset, because I felt bad. I wanted to go to this guy's viewing. It was the last thing I could do for him. He's a nice guy, and he died, and it was very unfortunate. In hindsight, we should have seen it coming, and I demanded a skin test, and someone told me that they had bigger things to, they had more important things to deal with. And I said, this is pretty goddamn important to me. I was very angry. I was very, very hostile because it's like, you fucking stop breathing, kind of turn a little blue, and tell me that then. And then I made damn sure to have a skin test, and I found out very, very, very much what I'm allergic to, and I have a list right here. And yes, this is not.
So soon after that close call with death was when that you got fully tested for what you're allergic to.
Yep, they just poked me with a bunch of things, which didn't hurt, which was surprisingly, because I thought it was gonna hurt I thought it was gonna fucking hurt. So here it is: apple, casein, which is a protein in milk, celery.
I gotta like ask, would as you go through the list, would you be able to go through what you're like mildly allergic to versus deathly allergic to?
So I'm mildly allergic to apples, oranges, and peanuts. They didn't tell me what kind or of nuts. So like if I had a Reese's, I might not feel anything, or I might just see a few dots appear. That's pretty much it. I had apples and oranges after this whole thing happened, which I didn't realize before I realized what I was allergic to, and I felt nothing, which is weird. Celery doesn't really, it's very minor. I don't know how allergic I am to whole milk and casein because I'm not willing to find out. So I'm not certain how allergic, but I don't think
Hmm.
it's that allergic. Seafood like fish mix and fish shell mix, I think I'm a little more allergic to. Lamb, lettuce, which I did have to go to the emergency room after administering the EpiPen due
For
to.
lettuce?
Yeah, so I guess I am rather allergic to lettuce, which I still don't fucking understand. Oats, I'm very
Really?
allergic to. Yeah, I'm very allergic to oats. As for peas, kind of
Damn.
allergic. Black pepper, pork, wheat, and oats are the things that I'm most allergic to. Um,
Wow.
and when
Well,
I did
pork you can
some,
probably live without, but
yeah,
wheat and oats, that's like a very base thing in, well, lots of diets in general, not just American diets, and not to mention of how many products it's in too.
yeah, I have to have. I can't have fried chicken. I have to have grilled chicken, which grilled chicken's still pretty good. So um, black pepper, not that allergic, but still allergic. White potato and peaches. I almost never have peaches, so to me it's not very relevant of how allergic. But yeah, casein is a family of related phosphoproteins that are commonly found in mammalian milk, comprising about 80% of cow's milk and 80 to 60% of 20 and 60% proteins in human milk. So 2% milk is what I can have. I have to be careful. Like when I have Mexican food, the tortilla has to be made of corn. It has to be chicken or beef, which isn't too bad. Honestly, corn tortillas are slept on. They're just fucking amazing. Um,
Mm.
and last December, I had a sandwich made with white bread, which I can have.
Mm.
Um,
It's
some
whole
beef.
wheat that it's whole wheat that you're allergic to,
So I had,
but
yeah,
white wheat you're not.
apparently not, which is interesting. Uh,
Very
I had
interesting.
I had made some lunch at work with white bread, beef, and cheese, and I had put something spicy on it just to make it enthusiastic. Sweet Baby Ray's buffalo sauce. I'd had that kind of sandwich many times, but the Sweet Baby Ray's buffalo sauce has something in it. I don't even know what that I'm allergic to. So now I have a new allergy to worry about, and I it almost went towards anaphylaxis. I had to go via the fucking ambulance. I was thinking, people were asking me, how does this happen? So there are several things that can cause you to develop allergies. Um, Unfortunately, one thing is genetics. So maybe sometimes an allergen could be passed down to you. Um, Not a single allergen on my list. None of them were passed down from my parents. And some of the allergens that my father has were not passed down to me, thank God. But sometimes it could be city pollution. Um, Sometimes repeated exposures to certain foods over your life, whether they be healthy or not, can turn your body against it.
Yeah, I thought
Um,
I might have heard some vaguely that if you're fed peanuts at too young of an age, that you will develop an allergy later in life. Is that true?
I think that might be. Sometimes, although it could be really at any time. Then you have a
So note
situation
to
where,
self: do not feed your 1-year-old creamy peanut butter at all.
yeah, then there is a situation in which, so you got pollution, genetics, repeated exposure, and then sometimes maybe you get bit by a dust mite or something. I'm not really 100% certain, but you might get bitten by something. And they're asking me, "Hey, did you get bitten by anything recently?" And I said, "No," because if something bites me, I know pretty damn well what it is. Um, so I'm thinking it is city pollution and repeated exposures eventually turning your body against it. Because I loved oatmeal as a child. When I was in preschool, they left a bowl of oatmeal in front of me, ate the whole damn thing. In fact, I had like 2 bowls, and I wasn't really supposed to, but I did anyway. So sometimes that happens. There is something they can do about it. Immunotherapy. I'm getting a primary care doctor to eventually start immunotherapy. It could take some of these things off the list outright, and for others, it just makes the reactions less severe. And There's one thing though, that even if I lost all of my allergies tomorrow, there's just certain restaurants I could never go to again because it only reminds me of the fact I almost died in front of my own mother, and the fact
Mm.
that you know, and she texted me later that night because I said, thank God I didn't die, because that'd be such a hassle to deal with, you know, as it is whenever you lose any relative. And she says it doesn't matter when it comes to your life, and because I am her only son, because I'm the only son, so I only have sisters. She said I couldn't handle it if you weren't here, which almost made me cry again. But she would say the same thing to my sisters, which understandable. I could, if I was a parent and I had to bury any of my children, I definitely would have to avoid turning to certain things to cope. And I can't even drink alcohol now because a lot of it has wheat in it. I can't have beer, which I sniffed a
Wait,
Corona when I was young, and it's horrible anyway.
even like hoppy beers?
If it's got wheat in it, I probably can't have it. I had rum and coke at the beginning of last year, um, and that was fine. And it's
I'm
weird
almost curious
how,
about this now.
yeah,
Because
because I
there's like Blue Moon and Woo Shock and Marathon 64. Those are like primarily wheat beers. But if I find out that something like I don't know, the American domestics like a Coors Light, Miller Lite, Bud Light, if any of them are like have traces of wheat in them.
yeah, and then I have to keep an EpiPen on me at all times, and some other antihistamines. I've had to use an EpiPen a few times last year. The first time it fucking hurts stabbing yourself with a sharp object in the leg, and then at some other point you're like, I just don't want to go back to the hospital, and I just want this over with. So I take 2 or 4 antihistamines. I do the pen. You hold it in place for 10 to 20 seconds. You can kind of feel the epinephrine go into your leg, and then you feel jittery. You feel cold, or sometimes you feel hot, a mixture of both, which is weird. Then you're just kind of, you eventually will pass out. Well, you'll, because you're very drowsy, and it makes your blood sugar go up because it has that impact with epinephrine and other antihistamines. Then after all that, you're just kind of pissed off, where it's like, really, you know there are so many things I can't have. I've lost a bunch of weight in the last year. I've lost 87 pounds because of all these things I can't have. um, which I didn't want to lose weight that quickly. I mean, I'm happy to have
Have
lost the
you
weight, but
regained any of it?
not really. I've
Really?
tried because I want to do this slowly. I want to do it on my own terms, but
Because you don't
uh,
look like any different in the face there, honestly.
um,
Aside from you having like a drug smuggler's beard right now.
well, I'd rather have a drug smuggler's beard than a porno mustache. Um, I can fit in some old clothes again. Um, um, and also I'm kind of just like leaning back, so I look like I have a second chin anyway. I did put on a suit for the first time last year. I put on a suit for the first time in 3 years, um, and I had fun with that, and I definitely felt more confident in my appearance anyway. Um, and I think the thing I learned is with this whole allergy thing is that certain problems can kick in at any time. Certain things I had my whole life I can't have anymore. Um, Apparently, I can still have rice, thank God, because I do like rice,
Well,
and
this is that.
I can still have a lot of things. There's just a lot of things I can't have. And so when I was telling someone about this, like, Jesus, what's next? They're gonna fucking tell you you can't. You're allergic to air. You're allergic to water, and it's like, I wouldn't be surprised. Don't want to give anyone any ideas, but eventually, some of these allergens might go away because sometimes it's with time. Others will probably stick with me forever. I don't know which one will be which, so I'm assuming this will be a lifelong problem. But if I can, when I get started on immunotherapy, I can get some of these problems off my back, and I could, because man, I miss making pulled pork. Um, I miss frying chicken. I miss those things. at the same time, this has been kind of a blessing because it's helped me lose weight. Because immediately after this whole thing started, I lost like 42 pounds right after, which people were asking me if I was even eating. And I was like, no, 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 I am. It's just how restrictive this diet is, and my, kind of being afraid of, what if I have a chicken and cheese sandwich? Is that gonna fucking, kill me? And then there's various products that you can have without wheat or without certain things, um, you know, because
Yeah, because
there's this.
I'm listening to you like talking about what is that pancake mix,
Yeah,
gluten
it's
free
gluten
pancake
free.
mix.
And because I've taken gluten out of my diet, that's what's driven a lot of the weight loss, is getting the gluten out, and
Mm.
continuing to have fiber in my diet, which I'm glad to still have that.
Yeah, there
Um,
are some people that gluten just makes them like bloat a lot. I'm lucky that
yeah,
I don't have that problem a whole lot because Lord knows I can like even now still I might be something between 165 and 170 pounds right now. There was a point not too long ago that I was 175. I wish that I could like maintain that kind of weight, but regardless, something around that weight. And Lord knows that if I was to cut out carbs entirely, I would probably end up losing too much of that. Sadly enough, I'm trying to gain
yeah,
weight, not lose weight.
yeah. I was only 170 pounds in 2017, and I would not mind being 180, and I'm not far from that. It's just
170 in 2017. You're like
I was
some hovering.
16. I was
Yeah,
16 years old, 170 pounds, and it's like,
because I don't know. I'm trying to like think health. I'm almost wondering if I could like get you in contact with one of my sisters who's a bit of a health nut herself and a gym enthusiast, big time gym enthusiast. But regardless, I go thinking 2017, like this isn't me trying to like talk shit or even make jokes that much anymore. But I still remember the one video that you did celebrating how you were like blocked by Steve Shives. And you had like a full body picture, and you say that you were like 170 right then, but remembering your height, you're like hovering somewhere around 6'1", something like that. So not that much taller than me, if at all. And you were like 170 at that time, and you had like, no offense, that much of a keg. It's like, did you not have that much like a upper body or arm muscle?
not not at the time, not really. I'm since this
Hmm.
whole allergy thing started, because I did notice that losing that much weight that quickly does have its problems. I've been more active. For example, I walked 25 miles in a single day, going through a few cities, just out of boredom, to have something to do, but also just to be active more.
You said per day or a
For
couple times.
on one day, but I generally I get at least 10 to 15 miles every day, of walking. So a few, like, I think it was last week, doing 25 miles in a single day. That was the most I'd ever done, because usually I keep it at, 10, 15, 20 miles. 25 was a little extra, which basically means I can go through this very city. I could even reach. I think it would take me about. I could go through this one, and I can go to one between this one and the one in between it. I'm trying not to dox myself here, but essentially, I
Well, haven't you like mentioned your hometown before, like
yeah,
even in
I'm
public
just not
spheres?
trying. Yeah, I'm just not trying to give away my exact location. I'm not
If
far
you
from
want
a
me
city
to like,
border.
if you want, you want me to like, not mention your hometown at all?
I mean, I don't mind if you do. I'm just going to tell you in private chat exactly
No,
how
no, no, you don't
far.
have to. I was just curious because there was a couple times during this live streaming conversation I was almost going to spat out your hometown. I just don't know if you would prefer that you don't have that mentioned so much
I
anymore.
I don't mind. I mean, I plan on running for mayor of my hometown in a few years. Um, so I mean, eventually, so I think the public would definitely end up knowing if I were to win, or if I didn't win. They'll definitely know that it is Ogden.
I
And
remember the. Okay, there you have it, folks. Ogden, just like how I like proudly mentioned how I am a Wichita native. Well, I say proudly, but I mean, I don't hate Wichita as much as a whole lot of people in the over the internet do, but it's really not that bad of a city. It is kind of boring in the grand scheme of major cities, but there are like some cool places that if somebody was like passing by and wanted to like hang out with me, there are some places that I can like mention for ideas to hang out, but. Uh, Kansas City is a whole lot more exciting city, which is why that I take quite often like road trips. Well, road trips, quote unquote. I take weekend visits up there because I have family who lives up there, like a couple sisters, and then yeah, um, I have some family that lives up there, and it's just a more exciting city in general.
Hmm.
But you go mentioning like running or walking, I guess more in general. I mean, I'm gonna be frank. Like, I don't like run a whole lot. I mean, I did not do it at all this last week, but I at least on a weekly basis try to go on a jog of 2 miles. Uh, well, that 2 mile long jog at least per week. I mean, I probably should like increase it more. Though I have like done a marathon before, untrained. So maybe in the grand scheme of things, I did not do too good. I can't even remember my time right now. It might have been something around 4 hours or something like that. But a full marathon is 26 miles. Um, I guess I was just curious. Have you ever done like marathons or 5K runs or something like that?
When I was younger, I did. It was through the city, which was not easy because I mean, they had it mapped off, so we weren't going to get hit by a car. It's just some people just don't pay attention, so they'd hit their brakes, and it was like, oh my god. But I was just going to say about my hometown is people dog on it a lot. There's a Facebook page where people dog on it plenty, and most of them don't even live here. Like the problems are just the high property taxes, and that's kind of what's making me want to run is the high property taxes, the problems in the schools, the public infrastructure, and I guess this would kind of make me a federalist in terms of local authority of dealing with these things, that it should be left to the local people.
Yeah.
um, and um, and also just how city government. The only time we ever heard from Mayor Caldwell is when it's voting time. He did not run for a fourth term last year, thank God. I don't know exactly if he's gone already. I think he is, but we in this city, there have been some improvements, but I think it's also just Ben Nadolski took power already, so um,
Hmm.
but if I was ever fortunate enough, oh, he took office like 4 days ago. Jesus, if I was fortunate enough to lead Ogden, I would definitely try to make the government much more responsive
Yeah.
towards its
Recently, we
people.
a funny story. Like speaking of running and mayors and so forth. Recently, we had our mayoral election, and I actually ran across the mayor elect of Wichita one time when I was going on a full like downtown run. Mayor elect Lily Wu of Wichita, ran across her at a local museum called the Exploration Place when like I said, it was on a run and I took a picture with her. Um, yeah, it should be interesting to see how her tenure goes, I guess.
Yep, she's taking office in 3 days. She's a member of the Libertarian Party. She was a Republican beforehand. So my hometown,
I did
some of
not
the
quite know that. I mean, I know that some family members of mine mentioned that she's like the most like a libertarian candidate, or one of the most libertarian candidates to ever like a win in an election in that in a fairly considerable kind of way. But I did not know that she was like officially Libertarian Party because as far as I know, when it comes to like local politics, people don't typically register themselves with a party. I mean, obviously, like there are some people that have a name and they made a name for themselves of favoring one party or another, like Dalton Glasscock, for example. Yes, all the jokes and puns are bound with that name. But regardless, he's somebody who I like vaguely got acquainted to at one point, and he ran for city council. He won his city council race as well, and I know that he ran like or was like one of the people who helped run one of the local teenage Republican organizations for Wichita, and so eventually, I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if he like actually registered. I don't know much if people in local elections typically do register, but it was pretty much known to me that yeah, he kind of leans Republican, and apparently he's a gay Republican too.
So I'm looking at the Wichita election. So she defeated the Democratic incumbent in a landslide.
Brandon
Um,
Whipple.
hmm She defeated him in the primary election. I am actually Facebook friends with a local political candidate. I thought she would get within the top two finalist position. She placed fourth. I think the reason because she lost in November 2019 by like 14 points, almost 15 points. I think the reason she didn't even make it to the general this time is because there were more options. 7 people instead of 4, her in that number 2. So I just think that more people had options and they voted how they did. And, we almost had a gay candidate get elected mayor. He lost by like 9.6 percentage points. And I voted for him, not enthusiastically, but I thought, well, he's the only one who's actually reaching out. I think that's why this race was closer than I thought. It was only one candidate was actually bothering to mail us anything.
So, if you don't mind me asking, like, aside from the possibility of maybe wanting to run for mayor of Ogden sometime in the future, like, I would presume this would be like your late 20s or something like that at this point. But aside from that, do you have like any future plans for YouTube? Because recently I've seen that you haven't been live streaming or posting on like any of your channels. So I was just wondering.
There are some things I'm wanting to do. It's just trying to figure out how exactly to do it, because some of it would just be pretty easy. Take another one of your videos and make a YouTube poop of it, or maybe I could just maybe S Man Speaks could just be a channel where I just do that. And I've been considering making a speech style video about the whole Israel Hamas thing. I'm just trying to figure. I want to word this very carefully because I think everyone is just taking an absolutist position here.
Mm.
Then and to answer the thing is that I plan on doing this by the time I'm 30, running for mayor, or doing something like that. But before then, probably still doing something political before then. And as for YouTube, I thought about doing a podcast, maybe bringing on a guest or something like that, and
Yeah.
have it be formatted and not have it really be blood sports like how I used to do it. And maybe I'd say 60 to 90 minutes, and then to avoid doing how it used to go where it could be like 5 or 6 hours, just have it be formatted. We say what we need to say and then that'd be it. Or maybe it could be a pre-recorded one. That way it's short and sweet and to the point. It's just about one issue. So that way we don't have a situation where it's like Dark Khan unfortunately has to, sit at his computer. He has to cut through so much of memes and inside jokes that no one is ever going to understand, and he has to dig through all of that to find out what the hell is of substance.
I mean, I'm all for the memes and inside jokes and all that stuff. I mean, it's one of the things that makes so entertaining listening to such an Adam or Ranting Monkey like that. They'll like make a whole bunch of inside references about the good old SJW days or such an Adams like adventures together or anything else like that, as well as be like talking about the more serious topics. But at the same time, Sitch and Adam, at least Ranting Monkey, not so much. He doesn't do clips, but Sitch and Adam, they also do clips of specific points in the live stream where they have like a specific topic that they are talking about. So yeah, that's what I've been trying to like do more and more often. But the thing is, being a full-time working man, it's hard to like get the motivation and find the time to actually sit down and part and parcel the stuff that I want to compile together. Sometimes it can be easy enough, like if it's just like a 5 to 10 minute segment, unedited, that I can just rip out of a live stream, like how I did a one live stream highlight of me and Monkey kind of gushing about family, because Ranting Monkey, he loves to talk about his granddaughters, I swear. And I was talking about my niece and so forth. That was easy enough. But something like the highlight compilation of where I was responding to some Christian feminist podcast that was ragging on to this anti-porn book, that was harder because there was this like scattershot, so many points that I wanted to like include in it of all the biggest problems that I had with this podcast I was responding to, especially more specifically on the subject of how dishonest and uncharitable they were being. Like there's some other highlight clips that I want to do, highlight clip compilations, like how feminist the podcast is, how they made a decent, another one that says they made a decent point here or there and the other place, or make a clip out of one part of the live stream where they go responding to a point that kind of was also brought up by Tim Horn, if you remember his response video to me at all, because apparent, or just in general, Tim Horn, like, is that a name familiar to you at all?
I'm having to look it up. Let me see. Oh God, I remember him. Oh,
but
man.
Anyway, there was like a one thing in his original video where he goes mentioning just full on outright the Bible is anti-sex, not even anti this specific sex or that specific sex, just plain out and out anti-sex. It's like, that's a fucking lie. Like, it was just such a stupid point that it was not, I did not even think it was worth responding to at the time. And then he goes making his response to me and goes saying that, oh, I had a freak out meltdown because apparently I have no response. But the thing is, it's so objectively wrong what he said, the Bible being anti-sex, that should a person really respond to it? But yet I hear these people kind of making a similar point. The Christian feminist podcast goes saying that it's pagan for the belief that a person like deserves like a fulfilling sex life with a wife specifically, that is pagan. It's like, no. And this is what I have to say in response to both Tim Horn and the Christian Feminist podcast, both at the same time. There is a verse in Proverbs, I believe it is, I'm paraphrasing here, of where that says, man, take pleasure in your wife's bosom. Yeah, I know that. I mean, but that's I know. A Christian talking to a non-believer, it sounds kind of silly, but it says that. So basically, like, and not to mention the verses in Genesis of where that God says procreate to populate the earth, that kind of stuff. It's like, obviously, Christianity is not against sex entirely. There are some cases of where that it promotes sex in a rather wholesome and more, I guess, righteous kind of way, like within marriage and so forth. It's, if anything, you can say that the Bible is like anti-promiscuous sex, anti-sex outside of marriage, anti-homosexual sex, but anti-sex entirely, unless the Bible is saying that straight couples banging each other, like married straight couples banging each other, is wrong as well, which I'd say citation needed on that verse, then you're just full of shit.
The thing that gets me about the whole thing is and I label myself a respectful atheist, because if religion helps you get through day-to-day life, I'm not going to take that away from you.
Yes, sir, Chris Markey, love them titties. Sorry,
hell yeah,
respectful atheists towards Christians.
Yeah, because for example, I've argued with so many fellow atheists and other non-believers about, I said to them, the words separation of church and state don't actually appear in the Constitution. Separation of church and state was mentioned in a letter by President Thomas Jefferson. It says the government can't promote a religion, but Donald Trump calling himself a Christian does not violate the that's not Congress establishing a law respecting a religion. That to me was the most annoying thing is, why are we debating these issues? What about separation of church and state? There's nothing debating abortion or gay marriage or what have you. That is not the Congress passing a law respecting the establishment of a religion. Everything is up. Everything is up for a debate, no matter how we view it. Everything is up for debate. And that's the thing that people don't understand is if something can't be debated, then whatever it is that you believe in that can't be debated, it can't be that strong if it can't withstand any scrutiny.
Although I will preface that it is a lot harder to make a case for banning gay marriage without mentioning religion as opposed to abortion, which abortion it's like a whole lot easier to remain entirely secular within your logic.
You ever heard of the group Secular Pro-Life?
Yeah, I follow that the channel. I thought it was just one lady, but regardless, yeah, I follow that group on Facebook. Not on Twitter though. Maybe I should like find them on Twitter and follow them.
I
But
have a
yeah,
lot
I
of
do.
fun watching it's run by three women, yet they just assume Christian male, that old man that slams that card down, you know, pro-choice arguments. It's no uterus, no opinion, or Christian male, and all that. And it just gets me every single time because it's like they've stated repeatedly that they're atheists, and they're all three women, and I think two of them are Democrats, and they get accused of
Really,
being, yeah, I think two of them, at least one, possibly two of them are
pro-lifers who
Democrats.
are registered Democrats.
Mm-hmm. And
Huh.
they brought that up after November 7th, when Ohio enshrined abortion in its constitution, and you had Ann Coulter saying that the Republican Party should just sever that alliance, and they're like, "See, this is proof. You don't have to be you don't have to be you can be pro-choice and a Republican, or pro-life and not a Republican." And I thought that's crazy. Hang on a second. Let me just I gotta mute for a second.
Oh, okay. Um, does
And
this
then
mean? Sorry, go on.
yeah, I do have a new YouTube account. Well, I've had it since I've had it for a few years. I do some stuff without it, and
I was just featuring Red Feather's live stream chat comment because I did not know if you wanted to like actually mention it by name or anything.
I don't mind at this point. And I haven't done a whole lot of videos. I've done a few. I've only done one debate on that channel. And I think I handled myself pretty decently in that. And I've done a few memes too, um, that I'm proud of. Even Aspie was like, "Bro, that was spicy," and it's like, "You're damn right." Um,
Oh yeah, uh, the one meme about Roe v. Wade being overturned, and it just has the clip of the Handmaid's Tale women.
oh man, I had so much fun making that because I already knew that it was going to happen after Clarence Thomas handed down that gun law, the gun ruling before then. Um, the open carry or concealed carry ruling before handing down Dobbs versus Jackson. Um, it was a lot of fun.
I wasn't paying like a full attention. I guess I was like looking at the live chat too much, but I
It,
guess you did not mention the name of your
oh,
new channel, and you
it
don't
is.
want to mention it.
I'll mention it here. It's just my name, Skylar Satterfield. It has a picture of my face in the profile picture. Um,
And
and
by
if
the
you
way,
want,
since we're on the subject of mentioning names, everybody knows that my name is Zach Edwards. There's one time I even like put my full name, including middle initial, on Twitter, so it's kind of public
I just
info if somebody like looks back far enough on my appropriate social media sites.
I remember seeing the middle initial. I just assumed it would be like, I don't know, Terrence or something.
Terrence.
I don't know why. I just assumed that would be.
Hey, everybody in live chat, do I look like a freaking Terrence, or like specifically my middle name would be Terrence? Press 1 in the chat if you say yes. Press 2 in the live chat if you say no, that I look like a Terrence.
But seeing because I thought your name would be Zachary, not Zechariah, and I was like, yeah, I just go by Zach too. Fuck.
No, it's Thomas, actually.
Oh.
Oh, Aircraft Sparky.
By the way, if anyone wants to follow
I
me
don't
on
know.
Twitter, it's my first and last name, but after the FI part, it's just the number 1.
I
It's
guess
linked on my channel anyway.
I guess I just go thinking that I am not cool enough for the name of Terrence. Not
And
cool or black enough. Wait, who said that?
I think someone, I think,
I'm joking, by the
I
way.
know
Apparently,
you're.
there's a my sister, my sister's husband has like, or okay. So one part of the family has a white son named Terrence himself. So well, actually, it might be Tanner, and the husband, his name is Terrence. But anyway, one of Terrence and Tanner. That's the two names there in that immediate family. That is like in law to my sister, anyways.
Yes, and
Terrence and Philip. No, I definitely do not look like a Philip.
almost done typing what I got to type in the chat, and there we go. And
Oh
I
boy.
think that since I've rebranded, I do not feel the same.
Oh jeez.
And you know, I've calmed down, I've mellowed out. I don't go on the vicious personal attacks I used to. Because I think that's kind
Yeah.
of what made me say, you know, the whole S Man Speaks character kind of got toxic, and I wasn't proud of that. And I thought, well, this makes me feel more formal and more substantive. But I do engage in memes, people. I actually do. Um,
I will say, you know, you kind of get on that subject. It makes me kind of think aloud and want to say, I think that the last few years of where that everybody within our appropriate circles has kind of spaced out from each other a bit has definitely matured up and mellowed us all out a considerable amount.
yeah, because
I
there's
mean, I'm
certain
still kind of
things.
developing, and I keep the name The Dark Conservatarian, and that's the main channel that I work on. But I don't really lean as much into the whole dark personality, even though really I cannot pull it off that well. I'm still like a dork more than dark, so I should probably rename my channel to The Dorky Conservatarian or something like that. But regardless,
I considered doing a podcast last year, and I was gonna get that started, and then all these health problems popped up. So it was off the.
hmm.
It was gonna be called the Libertarian Conservative Times, because I thought, oh, that kind of makes it sound a little fancy, but you know, I don't know. I did after leaving YouTube. I started writing a bunch of opinion pieces. It was just a glorified blog, basically talking about the issues of the day, and that actually got quite a bit of traction. Damn, by the time that gets to your stomach, it's gonna be expired, that fucking neck. Um, but you know, I did a bunch of opinion pieces that were able to draw in people. And I was pretty satisfied with a few of them. I basically said, "Hey, Democrats, can you guys stop sucking George W. Bush? Can you guys stop acting like he was a president of class and dignity? No, he fucking wasn't. You're only saying that because you think he is better than Donald Trump. And I assure you, Bush, I think is worse. Or oh, you know,
Really?
John McCain. Well, I mean, because it seems like Dick Cheney was really the president. We might as well just say that. And because how do you
Okay.
shoot a man in the face and have the man
Because
you shot in the face apologize to you?
because you go saying that you think that George Bush was worse than Donald Trump, and honestly, I do not know how much of a sore subject this is, bringing up videos that you have now privated. But I remember one video you did on your biggest channel, that being, of course, S Man Speaks. You made a video talking about Donald Trump is the worst president in U.S. American history, but I guess you don't think that anymore.
I'd say, I would say that
I mean,
with
I really don't give a
with
shit because I don't care about him, but regardless.
I'm trying to articulate this, that Bush was worse because he had more people who were aiding him, no matter whether it was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. I would argue that Trump, like Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil, he never had total control over the party. He does of the base, but then he goes and endorses every Republican senator running in 2020. Some people who were a major thorn in his side, like Susan Collins. So Trump didn't have as much control over the party as George W. Bush did in terms of the establishment. No matter how much Trump caved the establishment, he never had unequivocal backing. I think Trump was in over his head like Bush, but unlike Trump, Bush could get reelected and had more time to prove himself as in over his head. And I feel like Trump is doing everything he can to give Biden a lifeline in this campaign. It feels like he's just doing everything he can to give them stuff to attack him with. And I think it's like, to me, it feels like it's going to be a major wasted opportunity. They had an opportunity 2 years ago to rip control of Congress away from the Democrats and Biden. They gave them Pennsylvania. They gave the Democrats Pennsylvania, and they almost gave them still the House. And ever since then, it's just been a disaster.
I guess to clarify, you don't think that Trump is worse than Bush anymore because you think that Trump did not get as much bad stuff done as Bush did? So I'm understanding.
Yeah, is he had more? He didn't have as much time, and I think letting the heat of the moment. I told Sparky this in 2019 that I wasn't going to pass judgment till he left office because when you let when time passes by, you can have more of an objective perspective, and that I think I was right to say it then. And I still maintain that James Buchanan. I maintained in 2019, and I say this now, James Buchanan was the worst, because he left the nation so in a sorry state of affairs, and that while Trump did not get us into any new wars, he didn't end any wars. I mean, I understand that in some ways he wasn't that consistent with trying to articulate what is the Trump doctrine. "We're America, bitch" is not very much a doctrine. It's just a confrontational slogan, and still kind of funny. But James Buchanan, I would argue, would be the worst. And I would argue on the list, I think Herbert Hoover is not hated anywhere near enough for his actions during the Great Depression of spending more, taxing more, and committing ethnic cleansing on American citizens because to try to scapegoat libertarian, contrarian.
All these cringe mergings that Red Feather is trying to do. Conservatarian is better than all of those.
And then you have, I would say that it would be Buchanan, James Buchanan. It would be Franklin Pierce, Andrew Johnson for effectively killing Reconstruction. I would say that it would be.
So those are your top three right there so far.
Yeah, and then I throw in Woodrow Wilson for creating the Federal Reserve. I would say Nixon for weaponizing the government against his opponents. There were some good things he did, but still, and taking us off the gold standard.
And also, like, the amount of bureaucracies that he created. Like, let's be honest, Obama would not have gotten as much done if it wasn't Nixon, like, putting forth that precedent for him later in life.
It's funny how he was like, "Oh, I'm streamlining the bureaucracy by putting it into the EPA, just merging all these environmental programs into the EPA," but it still represented a massive violation of states' rights to deal with how. And yeah, I honestly think normalizing relations with China was a mistake, and I still can't understand, what was going on in Bill Clinton's head, this head, not the other head, to say, we should put China on most favored or permanent favored status for trade, which was a mistake, And I'm not a protectionist. I think you can prioritize who you trade with, and I don't think that's necessarily protectionist. And then so it's Buchanan, Pierce, Wilson, FDR for interring Japanese people. I think that he deserves to be remembered for that more than anything else. Nixon, and yes, I'm gonna have to say this: Jimmy Carter, and George W. Bush, Donald Trump, and I don't remember exactly how I was going to rank them, but I was also going to say that it would be Benjamin Harrison, because he did lead to an economic panic that ultimately Grover Cleveland, the only based Democrat ever, really got blamed for. And then, and I would also have to include, off the top of my head, I'd have to say John Adams for violating the First Amendment rights of the American people. That alone, you're violating people's freedom of speech. You deserve to be on that list. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think Joe Biden's going to be on this list. I think if he gets reelected, I think he's going to shit the bed once again, like he did with how he got out of Afghanistan. I applauded the fact we left. I just don't applaud how he went about it. I think there was a lot more positive ways. He said there was no good way to leave. Well, not leaving people behind and leaving equipment behind. That definitely would have made things better had he not left those things behind, leaving people to possibly die. And that is true. Lincoln did weaponize the government. Although, to be completely honest with you people, I feel like he should have been much harsher towards enslavers. I would have moved heaven and earth to get the slaves free. It's a divisive issue. No. Sometimes you just need to steamroll those who are doing something objectively wrong. There was a reason why it was a divisive issue. There were people who understood the inhumanity of slavery. And I think Nikki Haley, she hurt herself with some voters. I don't know how many, but I'd say maybe a fair amount, when she couldn't even answer what the cause of the Civil War was.
Yeah.
Was it only about slavery? No. But slavery absolutely had a part of it. And I would argue that the fact she couldn't even answer that, to me, was such an unforced error. She could have just said it was slavery, move on. I don't think it would have gotten that much attention. But the fact that it was clear she didn't want to say that word, that's why she's getting backhanded so much by the media and by the grassroots.
Would it be that much of a make or break issue for segments within the Republican voting bloc to say it was like mainly about slavery? Not to say that Lincoln was right in everything, not to say it was only about slavery, not to say that every last average Joe soldier in the Confederacy was some immoral, evil bastard. Just say it was primarily about slavery. Would that have really gotten so many Republicans to be all like, yeah, I'm not voting for you ever again?
Probably not.
I kind of doubt it.
But I don't know how many open primary states there will be in the Republican primary contest, but I feel like some who might lean towards her, because they're not Republicans at heart, are going to say, you know what, forget the Republican contest. We'll just wait till the general to register how we feel. It's going to be a referendum. And then I'm going to just say this about the whole January 6th thing. If you're going to arrest people, whether it be for January 6th or for negligent homicide, or all the way up to, I don't know, treason, the due process in terms of, and the right to a speedy trial is absolutely, should never ever be waived, should never ever be violated. And I believe I'm kind of surprised to hear Sparky ain't voting for Trump in the primary. I'm just amazed. I know he's
there was for a while that he actually was supporting Ron DeSantis over everyone else, but I guess because DeSantis had so many blunders within his campaign that I personally don't think is like really mainly his fault, in the same way that I mentioned like about Ted Cruz in 2016 so many minutes ago in this live stream, but I did not finish that point. But now he's like supporting Vivek more than anything, I guess, which it's honestly not the worst. Like if I had to like line up who my preferences were throughout the entirety of the Republican primary candidates, it'd probably be like DeSantis first place, Vivek at second place, maybe Tim Scott in third place. I really would not. I don't know.
Definitely not Chris Christie, though.
Definitely not Chris Christie. But the thing is with Trump, like the biggest thing that would like really push me over the edge to maybe vote for Trump in the general as opposed to the primary is because maybe he is like more of a passive maybe he more passively is a force of intimidation towards all the other superpowers to prevent like a World War III, and not being as much of a warmonger as Nikki Haley or Mike Pence or anyone else like that. Actually, Doug Burgum. If Doug Burgum got a lot further along in the primary, okay. Actually, it'd probably be Ron DeSantis, Doug Burgum, or actually Doug and Vivek would have been like neck to neck in second place, and then maybe Tim Scott and maybe Donald Trump would fall right behind that. I don't know. It's just I get there's so much wrong about Trump. Like it's
the only thing
I've criticized him plenty of about his presidency, and there's just so many. I'm just so sick of the cult of personality. I almost want to see it like I almost want Trump to lose just so that the Trump cult of personality can die away. But who knows what will happen in the future? Maybe it'll replace Reagan as the ultimate litmus test as far as how good of a Republican that you are. But even then, Reagan, I don't think should be a litmus test for that. But you're saying?
I was just going to answer Red Feather. The Democrats have 3 candidates, major candidates, I guess if you want to use the term loosely. President Joe Biden, Minnesota Representative Dean Phillips, who is about as exciting as a wet sock, and Marianne Williamson, who's a fucking loon
That sock
and a
is
half.
wet with what though?
No, he's. I just think that I think Dean Phillips is fucking boring. Like he's.
I don't know if that also came in all the way through, but I said, "What is that sock wet with, though?"
I don't know, water. And the thing that I just don't understand with Dean Phillips
you come on, you know what I'm thinking. Do not pretend that you have a clean mind.
I know what you're talking about. I just, I'm not a sinner like you, Dark Khan. I'm a child of God. I say that a lot in front of my Hispanic coworkers. I picked up some Spanish in the Michael Malice for press secretary. I think that if Trump puts Haley on the ticket, because assuming he gets the nomination, I think that would just prove that loyalty matters more to him. Because to me, had he just said, forget loyalty to me as a person, how about just loyalty to the agenda? I think he would have gotten a lot further. I think that Republicans, if they get the White House back, I think the Senate Republicans might warm up to the idea of getting rid of the filibuster. Which I'm not. I got
one quick thing to mention, sum up this point, and then I want to ask you one more question before we have to wrap up, because I have to wrap up in around 20 to 30 minutes. But about Republicans getting rid of filibuster,
I think they will, because I read Agenda 25, and they absolutely want to radically, and I don't say this in a bad way, the word radically, but radically. I support the filibuster, Sparky. I think the Republicans in the Senate there might be some push to get rid of the filibuster just to get his agenda through, because then at that point there's nothing stopping him. Because with Agenda 25, basically they want to have loyalists be in the executive branch, and people who will just conform to his agenda. That's what they want to do. I have not seen Trump endorse Agenda 25, because the Agenda 25, they've said that whoever is the next Republican president, and they're assuming Joe Biden loses this year, and I would not mind if he did, although I'd rather have Governor DeSantis or Mr. Ramaswamy for the next presidency. I think that. I think the Democrats would just be like having aneurysms with a Trump Ramaswamy ticket. I think that with Agenda 25, if Trump is the next president of the United States, which I can't believe I'm saying that, as I said that 8 years ago, I think that you're going to see Agenda 25 be endorsed by him, because loyalty matters a lot to him, and he's going to push hard for, I think he learned from some of his mistakes. I mean, DeSantis put out a pretty effective ad hitting him for, you said you'd get rid of birthright citizenship, which I'm not saying I'm for, but I'm not wholeheartedly against. I think people have misinterpreted birthright citizenship. I think in terms of the 14th Amendment, I think that he's gonna, no more moderates or squishes or rhinos, as he says. He'll put people who are going to, if they don't conform to his agenda, fired and all that stuff. because I mean, all these civil servants are supposed to be appointed on merit. So I think there's going to be some legal challenges to this Agenda 25 of implementing it. I'm not. The morning I found out Trump was going to be president of the United States, I will admit I was kind of surprised. I really thought the ice bitch Hillary Clinton would have it, and then when it was Trump, I was like, okay, well, midterms are going to be fun, and everyone at school the next day was all like, and wow, I feel old saying that. Everyone was just sitting in the lunchroom, quiet, just looking at each other. I was like, so it's going to be him, huh? And then
Based Starship Troopers aircraft, Sparky.
mm-hmm. I when I hear people say we're a nation of immigrants, it's like, well, we're a nation of citizens. And yes, we started off with immigrants. They're more citizens than immigrants, even though a lot of this whole border thing Biden's been doing, there are more immigrants in some states than the citizens. And like 24 states, I last checked.
Aircraft Sparky. Of course, I want voting rights only granted to landowners and vets. That's a little bit of a subject for another time, and you'll also have to explain to me, yes, man, what exactly Agenda 25 is later. I mean,
Yeah.
I go hearing Agenda X number, another X number, like a 30 something, being some kind of a leftist establishment idea of trying to urbanize everybody or something like that. Some number I can't remember, but
just in
anyway.
summary, it's Project 2025. It will reshape the executive branch of the federal government in the event of a Republican victory. Basically, if you believe there's a deep state, you're going to this would be, I guess, the way to get rid of it, to replace the existing federal civil service workers. To further the objectives of the next Republican president of the United States. They can't promote a certain candidate, any specific candidate under the law, but they do have, some of their people have ties to Trump and his campaign. They do have a maximalist vision of unitary executive theory that the president of the United States has absolute control over the executive branch upon inauguration. I'm not exactly saying that I believe in unitary executive theory, but I do believe the president does possess quite a bit of control. I don't know about absolute, but definitely a lot of control over the executive branch. And that's basically what it is they think there's a deep state. I think there is. And that they will.
Yeah, somebody asked you about that earlier. But,
oh yeah, There, I believe there is. I mean, look at the Senate Intelligence Committee. No other committee in the Senate or the House has a chair and vice chair. It's chair and ranking member, and a lot of these alphabet agencies do need to go. And here's Trump saying, "Oh, they're weaponizing the government against me, but I want to give the FBI a new building." Come on, man. It's like saying, Mesopotamia, my wife cheated on me, so I'm going to make sure that she can't get deported. Or whatever. It's like, come on, man. You can't be serious. What all this talk of the deep state and the weaponization of the federal government and all this, and I feel like the Republicans are trying their best to give the Democrats Congress and the White House. They couldn't even pick a speaker on the first ballot. It's unbelievable how things are going with that.
Anyway, I really wanted to ask this question. I've been wanting to ask it for the last few weeks, but kind of as a bit of a segue, Aircraft Sparky says being anti-colonialism is anti-diversity. Yeah, watch as all the leftist woke tards' heads explode. But speaking of the term, so something I was curious about, like I said, for a while now. So remember back in 2018 that you kind of went on that campaign, or I don't know if we want to call it campaign, but you were kind of vicious against the usage of the term SJW, anti-SJW. And so it just
okay, I get what you mean. Well,
so it just makes me kind of
I've had a few years to stew on it. I think those terms don't mean very much anymore. I'm not saying you should be a warrior or an anti-warrior. I just view it as not meaning a whole lot anymore. Same with those saying they're woke or anti-woke. Yeah. I think it's just reinforcing their base of supporters. I don't think those terms have a whole lot of
Yeah, was what I was
productiveness.
about to ask you is, do you feel the same way about the term woke nowadays, as that's the replacement term as opposed to SJW?
I think that the whole term, well, I define woke differently from others. I think woke, in my opinion, to me, if you call yourself woke, it doesn't mean to me that you're a basement communist, although you're a little better than that. But it tells me that whatever I'm about to hear, you're saying it to pander. You don't really care about the groups you say you care about. You just want to look good in front of others. That's what I see it as more than anything else.
Yeah,
You know,
in
when I
that
hear
case,
people say those kind of things, I immediately just tune out. It's the same with a person being like MAGA 2024. I just see it as you're just appealing to your base, and I'm not really going to get um, any productive conversation out of that. And I'm anti-leftist. I view them as, thank God that Bernie Sanders didn't get the nomination. He would have had perhaps the worst cabinet ever. An actual like moderate liberals, I can handle them a lot better in terms of patience than fucking um oh
sock
my
dems,
sock
socialists and
dems.
communists.
Yes, I have, after years of arguing with them, I have a rule in my mind: pronouns in bio, fuck off. Oh my god,
Yeah,
pro-choice, bands off our bodies, will not engage with them. No, I have no
I don't know
patience for
about
them at all.
that. Like, I think that pro-choicers are still worthy of debating, even some of the more extremist ones. I mean,
I
mostly
don't mind
because
debating that.
some of them are kind of like like low-hanging fruit. It's just communists. I've like gotten such a short fuse of patience with them nowadays, to where that I'm wondering, is it even worth it anymore? Like I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, but Smiley P is one character, and then Aaron of Re-Education is another one. Once I found out that both of them being like self-avowed anarcho-communists, when I first heard about them, I was like, okay, maybe I'll hear them out. But ever since I heard them more and more come mask off and reveal that they just want to overthrow business owners, steal their property, and force that business to become a worker co-op against the original business founder and owner's wishes, by force if need be. I just realized, yeah, at the end of the day, even anarcho-communists are just violent, like tankies. They're not too different from tankies. They just say their rhetoric with a smile, a
Hmm.
very
And
friendly looking smile. It doesn't
I,
matter to me if you do that with a scowl or a smile. Stealing business, stealing property of any kind is still immoral.
I encourage every business owner to be a rooftop Korean for a day. And
Based.
yes, a rooftop Korean for a day. Well, actually, for the rest of your life, if necessary. And I encourage everyone to buy at least one gun this year, at least one, because I know people buy guns, but before an election, of course. And I just want to say this as well: I don't mind debating pro-choicers. I want to clarify: I don't mind debating them. It's just, if I see the Ukraine flag in their bio, I immediately stop giving a shit. You know, democracy is
Uh,
so important, guys, but let's have invoke martial law to avoid having an election in Ukraine. Oh, and they're going to pick a woman this year for president of Mexico. The top two candidates are women, so it just depends on which one. Um,
should
you should
debate
debate
me.
me on
I
what?
will say that I'd be interested to like live stream you about that whole thing that you mentioned about gay marriage. What you think is really the secularist view as to why that, or what is the secularist argument? Not to say that Aircraft
I
Sparky is for like a banning gay marriage. I mean, he's told me in the last time that we streamed together that he's not for it, but he still thinks that there's supposedly a secularist argument for it, and I'd at
Oh,
least be
he can
interested
play
to
the
hear that,
pro-choice
anyways.
game too. He can play the I'd have no problem debating him if he wants to take the pro-choice position for it. He's an
Oh,
abolitionist. I want to announce
are
here that yeah.
devil's advocacy.
Yeah, I am I take the abolitionist position. The whole ban it after the 15 weeks was a compromise, and after seeing some of the things I've seen and hearing the rhetoric I hear, I think the moderate position is the abolitionist position. Charging the doctors I do support the idea of charging the doctors with murder. I
Hmm.
I believe that that they absolutely should spend the rest of their lives in prison. I'm also against I'm also against the death penalty. So no one can accuse me of hypocrisy with wars, capital punishment, abortion, and all these other important things. I think I mean, I'm
Well,
not a
I'm
vegan, but
against. I'm starting to like be more and more against the death penalty, but I still like understand the logic of why somebody would be pro death penalty but pro life or anti-abortion specifically at the same time, and it not be a contradiction. But
I also have no problem debating Sparky on capital punishment. And I can assure everybody that I have turned over a new leaf, and I won't make personal attacks. And I honestly, when I debated one of my now former friends on taxes, it was professional the whole time. I
oh,
felt pretty damn good about that.
you lost that girl as a friend now.
Yeah, well, it turns out that off her rocker, and I was like, whatever. I didn't really lose anything really
I mean,
great in that friendship.
she definitely looked like, I mean, just looking at her in the face, she was definitely not ugly, but she was a crazy kind of pretty. She looked at in the face, honestly.
Well, in hindsight, when someone has blue hair, you know they're going to be fucking crazy, and I'm willing to bet that therapist, if she is a therapist, dear therapist, don't worry about money. You will make a shit ton of money with regard if your patients, if your patients have blue hair, you're going to make a lot of money, and whether it be from them or their parents. And
Yeah, all you have to do is do affirmations of their leftist beliefs.
because as soon as I remember hearing that Roe was overturned, I was at work and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" I could already see a couple blue-haired coworkers looking really upset, and I was like, I had to go out uh, to the break room, and I just put my face into my arm, and I'm just laughing so fucking hard, just like wow. And I also wouldn't mind debating Red Feather too about it too. I wouldn't mind at all if it was a 4-person debate or just a 2-on-1 or what have you of that kind of conversation.
I'd
I
have
know
like
you.
another one-on-one live stream with the aircraft Sparky, but what were you saying? You know
I was
who,
just
what?
I know yeah, if they'd be okay with that, and or be 2-on-2, 2-on-1, I don't mind. And yeah, no, I've been pro abolitionist on capital punishment for 3.5 years, and going to be 4 soon. And um, yeah, I make this pledge here. Any debates I engage in the future, I'll keep them respectful. And if the other person isn't going to be,
As
I'm
long
not
as the other
gonna.
person will keep it respectful, or are you gonna like play nice even if they play mean?
Well, if they play mean, I'm going to try not to respond in kind, but I can't promise that if they don't respond and that if they don't keep it respectful, I'm not saying I won't keep it. If they keep it respectful, I'll keep it respectful. I can't promise I'm going to keep it respectful if they don't. I'm not going to go scorched earth like Danny Courts. I'm not really proud of that. Um, although I still get a chuckle
The
when I think
guy,
about it.
he deserved it. The guy was
Oh,
like dragging your name through the mud.
I didn't feel sorry about it. I just didn't feel proud of it. Like in terms of like usually I don't act like that, but no, he deserved it. Um, yeah.
But
You
by the
said you do
way,
have to go ahead.
yeah, I have to go like in a few minutes, but we like deviated way away from the woke question. But I just felt like I wanted to say because I felt like there was a bigger conversation to have about that. That I like maybe I was okay with the woke term at first, but I like got burnt on it real quickly, like a whole lot quicker than the SJW term. Like especially ever since I read a Washington Examiner article. Can't remember the title of it. Read it in one of my Strike Force episodes. Can't remember which one it was. But regardless, in the Washington Examiner article, there was they were quoting some Republican politician who was calling it woke for somebody to be pro single payer healthcare system. It's like you're already devaluing the term woke right now, and just with how many times that people have called things woke for frivolous reasons, quartering, it just
Mm-hmm.
makes it way too tiresome. And I cannot tell you how much I die of cringe whenever I hear like some boomer, like a family member, say it. I mean, it's one thing for somebody similarly of my age, or even like Gen X age like Aircraft Sparky to use it like in proper context at least. But for some reason there's like an extra bit of cringe when a boomer tries to do it. It's like I'm trying to be hip with all you youngins right now by using these hip new terms that you all are inventing. It's just all like, oh my gosh, just stop.
Don't worry, buddy. I use that word every single day. Yeah, partner.
Maybe
But
it's
yes,
because of the fact that not so many boomers even heard of, much less were using the term SJW, why that did not get burned on me so much. But I go hearing like a couple boomer family members of mine use it. It's like, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop.
And but yeah, Sparky, whenever you'd like, I'm willing to have that debate, whether it be on abortion or capital punishment or gay marriage. And to those who are listening, if you ever want me to take the devil's advocate position, I can argue the opposite, like I have in years past. And yeah, I miss doing these debates. I've had a lot of fun. And even though I don't imagine ever debating our British counterpart ever again, and I'm fine with that.
As long as he kept us blocked, I don't think that's even like a possibility.
Okay, Sparky, do you still? I know Elon, since he took over Twitter, he brought Humane Mind back, so I'm assuming maybe you're back on
What?
Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, on Twitter. For some reason, I thought you said Aircraft Sparky brought Humane Mind back. Like,
No,
is there like a interview that he had with him that I don't know about or something? Because I'm subscribed to Aircraft Sparky, but yeah.
Oh, he didn't allow you back. And I don't disagree, Red Feather, but they haven't brought Sparky. I don't know if there's Discord. I mean, if Sparky wants to comment on,
He's on Discord. He's on my Discord server. If you want me to send you an invite, I can to my server.
Sure, yeah, that'd be fine. I I can agree, Sparky. You do have a pretty spicy history. Not as spicy as my favorite red Tabasco, but it's still pretty spicy. I just can't have scrambled eggs without Tabasco. I just can't. I just have to. For some reason, I just have to. Same with adding cheese to it. You know, I can handle without it, but it just isn't the same. And damn, I should get Bob's.
I didn't even know I had that permission, Sparky. He says invite him to my server, DarkCon. I didn't even know I had that permission, but I sent the invite to you anyways. And do you know how many people are going to be excited to see your name pop up again on there?
Like nobody. They won't even remember me.
Aw, come on, Espen. Come on. Night Shift is on there. Well, I guess Night Shift would be like the only one excited because
doesn't he work the night shift?
Funny. I slapped my knee. But freaking what am I trying to say? Nate has left though. I'm not, and JJ he left my server as well. Doomer is like almost never active on there. But I guess, now that I think about it, Red Feather and maybe Aircraft Sparky, despite him barely ever being active on my server. And then Night Shift would probably be the only ones excited to see you come back on. But
well, I'm glad to hear that, of course. And I don't know if I can have Frank's Red Hot, but that pancake mix I showed you earlier, I can have that. It tastes a little different, but that's all right because it doesn't put me in the emergency room and it doesn't threaten to kill me. I do want to come back mainly just because I do miss being challenged on my opinions, and it keeps me from being in an echo chamber. And also, know so many people who being challenged on anything, is a death sentence in terms of that friendship. And I think it's crazy.
I probably should debate people more often myself, but yeah, I'm still doing this hobby despite it being a lot slower. I definitely have some movie reviews that I want to do in the future. I have a few ideas for political videos that I want to do as well, but it's real slow going, mostly because my desktop computer doesn't want to work with me. I'm going to have to edit them on my laptop for the current time being. But anyway, yeah, we're about to leave now because I got to get ready and then get it going for my evening plans, and I really got to pee. So, S-Man, got any final words to say?
I hope people follow instructions when it comes to properly refrigerating things after you first open it, because so many people don't, and that's why they keep getting pregnant. That's what I had to say.
What the fuck? Oh, that was just such a random, jarring segue. Talking about moldy food and then suddenly pregnancy. What the fuck? They
Because,
putting sperm in the mold now?
no, they just can't find a good man, yet they still always get pregnant.
I don't
Coincidence?
know.
Absolutely not.
Anyway, thank you all for joining and watching the live stream, and thank you, S-Man, for having a conversation with me. I mean, I do want to do these at least on a yearly basis, no matter how far or wide S-Man and I might be from each other, as far as like how often we hang out with each other. I still am appreciative, and it might sound like kind of cringing gay at this point, but still, I will always be appreciative of the time of day that you gave me, S-Man, with as far as YouTubing goes. So
You're
that's
very
kind of why I
you're,
do these.
you're very welcome, even if it sounds very sappy, and I got to remind you that that's going to be happening soon. So you're gonna don't worry, you will find the right one.
Freaking married men, they reject their boys once they get married.
And you'll find the right one, even if Tree of Logic turned you down. I'm certain you'll find, if Kansas Owens could find someone with her personality, you will find someone. I promise.
Man, fuck both of them. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Have a good night, and hope you all had a happy holiday season. I guess I should have asked you about your holiday season, S-Man. Just to sum up in one word, how good was it? Or 2 words?
Decent, I guess.
Oh,
I'm a rebel, so I said 3 words. So
okay, I gotcha. But anyway, thank you all for watching. See y'all later, and God bless you all.